You didn't say hi, good evening, nothing.
I said hi, but he wasn't
The
here.
fans is watching. Hey!
You didn't say good afternoon, good evening. I want you know Danielle. Damn, right?
What up? Oh, we got Steve in the house. We got Robert in the house early.
Hey, yeah, what's up, Shannon? Shannon Rawls, what's up, man?
What's happening?
You and, I seen who was you? You was with 3 other brothers in Trill. I watched it for a little while before I had to dip out.
Oh, King Talk over at the LaPeef Network.
Yeah, I enjoy what I was listening to, man.
Yeah,
man. Being dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm about to do my homegirl podcast in I think next week. Should be pretty interesting.
Wait, say it again.
Fire Clubhouse,
my homegirl podcast next week. She gonna be tuning in tonight too. She said she gonna tune in.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah.
I'm starting back. I took a break from doing on my podcast because I was building, but I'm gonna have a whole week next week laid out. I'm gonna be live. I'm gonna be pulling y'all niggas in, especially Chris, because Chris be having a lot to talk about. So I'm gonna yank him in there. I'm gonna make Chris popular, and I'm gonna get him to quit his job and make $30,000 a month on YouTube. And once I get that going for him, I can convince him to sponsor everything that we're doing over here at Ask a Black Man Anything.
He can sponsor me too.
He can just cut the check.
I'm saying.
Let go of that. He got like 3 companies. He got a board game. Forget all of that, Chris. I'm gonna just slide just $750,000 of a million. No, let's see, $350,000 a year. That's what I'm gonna get Chris. I'm gonna get Chris $350,000. There's just about $300,000 a year. I think he'll be all right with that in Atlanta, of all places and shit.
Yeah, you look like a king in Atlanta.
Hey, we not live, is we, Shan?
Yeah, we live.
I'm talking about like live on the scene.
Live.
Oh, we got another minute. No, we got another minute.
No, they can see our. They can hear us, but they can't see us.
Oh, got it.
Yeah. So, okay, good. Cause I got some. Yeah. No reactions, just FYI.
Oh, make it. So
You gonna fool around and mess up.
I'm about to fire up. I'm about to fire up the clubhouse.
No, because it's gonna be so fast. It's gonna be so fast.
That looks familiar.
Nah. Don't worry.
Nah, I'm not. I'm just.
I've that's not the first time I done made this public with us. So
Yeah.
Just working on some things.
Work it out.
In the vetting process.
Work it out.
Oh, so I'm dropping another book too, man. My book is going to be the Ultimate Vetting Guidebook, the Ultimate Vetting Guide Workbook. So it's going to teach you how to properly vet women and how women can properly vet you.
Okay.
Sure.
I'm gonna have to learn this writing a book process because I got an idea that I want to put on paper.
Just start writing.
Well, I mean, I know that's step 1, but
no, but I'm telling you, that's how simple it is.
Step, though, man. I think it's don't minimize. That's like a really big step. Because the more
Trust
you
me, I know.
the less likely you are to start doing it. Because you're gonna be in your head about it. But then as soon as you the paper.
No, that's been my thing lately is just making sure, because I always have a bunch of shit that comes to my mind, is just to make sure I start writing it down. I've been really intentional about that lately. So
we are visual.
Good.
What's going on, brother Jerron?
How y'all doing?
All right. I need to plug something up here. Oh, let me turn off my distraction over there.
My boy out there mud wrestling and everything. I saw you, bro. Like you was living your best life.
Living your best life, sir.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad.
All right, we won't get too much into that, but
we are official. Like we are in the screen. You can see us. We are
live and in action.
Y'all pull up in Clubhouse. Pull up in Clubhouse real quick.
Let me grab.
Oh damn! I can't pull up in Clubhouse. I'm playing Monopoly on my phone, man. Can't pull up in Clubhouse, man.
Man, hey Chris, man, greet the audience, bro. We live, right? Go ahead and greet them up.
Yeah, man. We about to make it do what it do. Wes over there. I'm in there. What up? Good evening, good morning, good afternoon. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Ask a Black Man Anything. We want to welcome those who are on Clubhouse. We want to welcome you all to our show. I just want to let you know, ladies that are in the audience, as you can just see, we turned the raise hand feature off. And gentlemen, I see you, Mr. Omar Walker, Benicia, I'm probably saying that wrong. Apologize. Krizia, Rita, Joni, Aja, and Omar, welcome. And welcome to you all who are on YouTube. I want to tell you all real quick, ladies, that we are actually, and gentlemen, we are live on youtube.com. So what I would love for you all to do, while you can't pose a question in this particular room, what you want to do is you want to jump over to YouTube because you already got your phone in your hand, and you want to go to youtube.com/ask a black man anything and join us on our live broadcast. You don't have to come on the broadcast. You can just comment and interact with those people that are already in the comments. So we want to welcome you all tonight to our live show. We want you to be a part here. If you're in listen only mode, you're perfectly fine to stay in listen only mode. But we definitely want to give you the opportunity to be here with us tonight on our live show. So welcome to Ask a Black Man Anything. And gentlemen,
Oh shit.
you know what it is. Welcome Jamal, welcome Shahid, Jerron, Robert, Steve, and Mr. Super Producer. Let's go ahead and get it popping. Let's give our introductions.
What up, everybody? My name is Shannon Rawls, coming from the West Coast, the best coast, of course, Los Angeles, California. 49 years old, and I love talking. If anybody has ever met me in person, they realize that Shannon just talks too much. He likes to hear himself talk. So I had to figure out a way to get that energy out, and so I found YouTube. And so now I talk a lot on YouTube. I give a lot of information to people who are interested in the two ships, entrepreneurship and relationships. I talk a lot about that, and I particularly speak to young men so I can make young men become better older men. By at least doing my best to get them to navigate themselves through life, avoiding the pitfalls that I've gone through myself. So I appreciate you guys for having me. We're going to have a wonderful show this evening, and let's pass it on to my guy, Steve.
Yo, everybody, this is Steve out of South Central LA, to be specific. Yeah, man, I love everything about me, to be honest. Gonna pass it to Jerron, my good brother Jerron.
Yes, sir. What's going on, brothers? Good to be amongst the brethren again. As she stated, I am Jerron, resident, licensed clinical therapist, social worker, whatever you want to call me, here in Jackson, Mississippi. It's always great to be here. Looking forward to the discussion today. And I'm going to go and pass it to my brother, Robert.
Robert Longmire out of Bakersfield, California, another part of the West Coast, the best coast. Entrepreneur, investor. Entrepreneur, investor. I'm big on family. I'm big on fatherhood. So I kind of try to speak to stuff around that realm. I love talking about business. Anytime I can talk about business or stock market, I get excited. That literally gives me goosebumps just having the conversation. So, but I'm here, man. I love being on the stage with these brothers, and I'm going to pass it to brother Shahid.
What's going on, everybody? Shahid Muhammad out of Los Angeles, California, by way of Phoenix, Arizona. I'm your favorite black cowboy and all the above. Let's get into it. It's on you, Colin.
What's up, everyone? Colin Hardman representing the Dirty South.
So fresh and so clean.
Executive producer and founder of Amazing Media. So business owner. Love to be here with my fellas and offer any advice I can, whether it's just life experiences, business, what have you. So episode 13, let's get it.
Back to you, Chris.
Jamal. Now Jamal.
Oh, Jamal is here? Jamal pulled up on
Yes,
time?
sir.
What?
I've been watching y'all the whole time.
Yeah, it looked
What
like
is
he just
going
got
on?
back from Alaska or something, Eskimo style.
I was wondering why he had his
I'm
name
here,
on
man. I'm here. Jamal Dixon out of Atlanta, Georgia. Just happy to be here with the guys. Let's go ahead and get this popping, man. So 13, let's get it.
Good evening, everybody. I am Chris Davis, CEO of Pink Slip LLC. I'm author of The Edge of Greatness. I don't see my book anywhere in my peripheral, but author of The Edge of Greatness. I am honored to be the host of the Ask a Black Man Anything show among these kings and generals. Happy to be here. Happy to share what experience I have. Father, single father with custody of my children. So, there's that part, which is always a beautiful thing. And I just here to give back. So let's get to it. Just last part, real quick. If you are currently on Clubhouse, you probably can't see our faces, and I want you to. Join us at youtube.com/ask a black man anything. Clubhouse is where we first started, and how our show works. If you're watching the live show, is you literally can click the top of the chat and ask us anything. We are not here without you. So in order for this show to continue to work its best work, and we can create a safe space for you, make sure you are commenting in the comments, but you also click the top link and ask us any question that you would like us to ask. I'm sure that you have plenty of questions and we have plenty of answers, and we give you our honest feedback. With that being said, I want to toss it over to our super producer for our
Hot
hot
topics.
topics.
Look, this week's hot topics is one is kind of spicy. We got three actually this week. I don't know if we'll be able to get through them all. We should have some callers calling in. This is for everybody, and please, we want you guys to come up. Now, if you want to come up and ask any of us or all of us a question, you do not have to come on camera, but we prefer to have a audible conversation. So a lot of people like to ask questions in the chat, in the live chat, or in the comment section. But we prefer you to come up and just verbalize your questions. So please, all you got to do is if you're on like an iPhone, just go to Safari and type in join.aabma.live, and it'll take you straight to where you can just ask us the questions. It kind of like brings you up on stage. But what we're going to talk about today is something that is kind of a mixed bag in the black community. And I want you guys to take a look at this video. I'm getting ready to play a clip. So everybody swing over to YouTube so you can watch this video that I'm getting ready to play. You're going to hear the audio, but I want you to kind of just watch it as well. It's a quick statement about the state of raising boys. And we're gonna get everybody's opinion on this and see how we all feel about this. So here, let me go ahead and play the clip.
My grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. Said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.
My grandfather walked 10 miles every day. My father walked 5. I'm in a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. My grandson will be in a Ferrari. My great-grandson will be walking again. I'm asking you fellas, and this is important. How important is it, Steve, Colin, Shahid, Jerron, Chris, Jamal, and Robert, how important is it to make your children struggle a little bit to understand responsibility? Or should you cover them all the way through adulthood? How important is it for you to make your children get it out the mud, like maybe you had to do? Or if you have the resources, the financial resources to make sure that your children don't have to struggle whatsoever, should that be the route you take to make sure that you build a long-lasting financial legacy for your family? I'm curious, Steve, what do you think? Do you think you should? Oh, go ahead.
I think this is a great question. I think balance is important when it comes to any and everything. And I also think that every kid certain things don't resonate with every single kid the same way. So I think to answer the question, I think it's important to have balance. If you have the means to be able to do certain things for your children, you should. And then even within those means, you still should be able to find ways to help them understand and appreciate the importance of having responsibilities.
Yeah, so I would say be careful what you pray for. That I love that, because that was one of the things that I always wanted when I was younger, before I even had kids, when I was like 15 years old. I said, I want my kids to know what it's like to be poor, and I want them to know what it's like to have access to be rich, preferably the poor before the rich. Um, and throughout the past, throughout my 20s and my 30s, there was a time where I was getting it out the mud, like literally scrapping metal, picking it up out of the mud, dusting it off, cleaning up yards, because the TV station I was working at had let me go. Television, the TV stations, you have to jump from market to market, and I wasn't ready to leave my kids. So I was literally digging in the mud, picking up metal, and my kids at that time, it was more of a struggle, and they got to see that, and it created a humbleness. And then you get to
But
the
wait,
point
wait.
where you have a.
Let me ask you. You said your kids saw you do it, or you had your kids doing it?
I didn't have them doing it. I didn't have them doing that. They were too young to be doing it at that point anyway. But no, they weren't there with me actually doing it. But as far as the financial means, as far as the okay, we going school shopping, but we ain't really getting that much new stuff. You know what I mean? Like, just getting by, basically surviving. They had to deal with that. They had to deal with, they don't get the newest and latest and greatest and whatnot. Then you get to the point to where you have a little bit more, and it creates a humbleness to where they don't even, like, if they go shopping. My daughter has exquisite taste. She can't help herself. She just picks out the most expensive thing she can find because she likes it. But in general, they don't care what the brand is. Matter of fact, they couldn't even name you 3 brands. They might be able to name you Nike, Adidas, something like that, but they can't name all the brands because that's just not what they're into. They're into, if it looks nice and I like it, that's what I want. It's a humbling thing. And I think that that's what all along that whole path that video was talking about. I think if humbleness is continuously taught, humbleness and good work ethic is continuously taught through that, it doesn't have to go to where finally we get to the Ferrari generation and the next generation is back to walking. So I appreciate that message. I just, if I believe the foundation to any strong man is humbleness, regardless of how he shows his strength, whether he's an enforcer, whether he's a delegator, whatever it is. At the end of the day, it comes back to humbleness. And I feel like if that's taught throughout the raising of whatever generation, at the end of the day, there would be no reason for one to come back from a Ferrari all the way back down to walking unless it was a choice.
What's the question?
It was off that video.
Yeah, I'm asking just to repeat the question.
Oh, the question is, how important do you believe, Colin, it is to make your children, in your case, your future children, struggle? Should you make your children struggle in any fashion the way you have? The way maybe your father did, maybe your grandfather did? Or if you have the means to eliminate all struggle, you have the financial capability to make it an easy road for your kids, go smooth sailing right into adulthood, should you just take that route? Is it important? How are you going to make them? How are you going to give them the distinction of responsibility with or without struggle? What would you do? How can you foresee you doing your future kids?
So, I can speak from experience. Me growing up, being the baby of 4. But to answer that question, I don't think they necessarily have to struggle, especially if I have the means. I'm not going to make them struggle, but I will teach them business. I will teach them how to run a business. Start and establish his business. So not necessarily making them struggle, but definitely making them understand how life works and know they're not going to be getting a huge allowance and things like that. Like they're not gonna struggle, but they are gonna go through life like any regular person. But at the same token, I'm gonna show them how business works. So going back to my experience, being me and my second oldest brother, because there's 3 boys and 1 girl. We don't come from a family of entrepreneurs, so we wasn't taught anything about entrepreneurship. But growing up, I always bucked against the system. I bucked against going to school right after I graduated high school. It's just like I was just thinking logically. It's like I don't even know what I want to do. So I wasn't even thinking about going to people that were going to school and not necessarily going into their degrees once they graduate. I was just like, I just don't want to go to school. So I just work. But over time, always came back to my passion and then just start pursuing that and then sticking with it. But I didn't have guidance coming from my father or my mom because, like I said, they worked, good jobs and things like that, and they retired. So they really couldn't give me like a path of entrepreneurship. But I know I always wanted to be an entrepreneur. I always wanted to do my own thing. I got tired of routine. So me and my brother started the same time. Well, about the same time. He started maybe like 8 months, maybe like a year before I did. But we both stuck with our businesses. He's doing awesome with his business. Matter of fact, he's having a huge basketball camp with an NBA player this weekend. But he's experiencing exponential growth, just like my company. I'm experiencing that. So it was like a lot of trial and error that I had to go through. Eventually, I got mentors on the way and things like that. But if my parents were entrepreneurs, my path would have been a lot easier because they would have been able to show me those things of how to be an entrepreneur, how to do your own finances before you start forming your own team and all those things. So going back, I would say, like I said, I wouldn't have my kids struggle, but I would definitely emphasize the importance of them getting life skills and learning business. So not putting a spoon in their mouth, not giving them things, but they're earning things. I rest.
Me personally, I think that I wouldn't want them to struggle. Like you said, I wouldn't want them to struggle. They wouldn't struggle per se, but I do believe in tough love. And so what I mean by that is, I want them to grow up. It's like the Bible says, Proverbs 22:6, you train up a child in the way they should go, and they shouldn't depart as they grow older. And so, I want to teach them the value of hard work. So
how do you do growing that up without struggle?
Growing up, one of those old saying was, if a child, you tell a child not to touch a hot stove, and the child goes and touches the hot stove anyway. And so when they do that, of course, they get burned. In some situations, no matter what, a child's going to have to learn on their own. It's just kind of like them life lessons. And so I wouldn't want to shelter them per se, because me growing up, I was raised by my grandparents. So early on, starting out, grandparents, a lot of times they're very protective, very nurturing, very loving, very caring. And, growing up with my grandparents, I couldn't, the way they treated me and the way they raised me, I didn't have any say so in it, growing up. They were very loving, very kind, very caring. But I do honestly think as I grew older that there were some things I missed out on because they were so big, like hell bent on sheltering me, that I didn't get to do every single thing that everybody else got to do, or I missed out on some things, or I didn't get to get into everything. So when I went off to college, a lot of those things that I didn't get to see growing up, I had to learn on my own. And so I feel like that's doing a disservice to your children, because if you shelter them growing up, then when they get out there on their own, they're going to have to learn the hard way. And so growing up, I would teach them some tough love. I'll get some responsibilities. Start off pretty simple, like, hey, you got chores around the house. Hey, you need to do these things right here. And I expect them to be done. They're not done, then of course there has to be consequences. There has to be consequences for every action, because I don't want my kids growing up thinking that, hey, there's no consequences to your actions. I can go through life basically freeballing and do whatever I want to do. And when I get older, I can depend on other people to make a living. I can basically just depend on people, ask them for stuff. I don't want them to be like that. I want them to be able to get out there on their own and not expect a handout. And I feel like a lot of times when we get older, if we weren't raised the right way, or if we were sheltered, or, if we were always given stuff, giving handout after handout, we grew up thinking that, hey, I don't have to work hard for nothing, or, hey, I don't have to do anything. I can get whatever I want just by asking for it. And that's not how life goes, because at the end of the day, eventually, we all going to leave this earth. So as our children get older, and when we're gone, we're going to have to fall back on. So you need to teach them the skills right now, so when they get older, they don't have to depend on you so much. Because when you're gone from here, they're going to have to be able to do things on their own. So I don't believe in actually, like I said before, I don't believe in actually making them suffer, but I'm definitely going to teach them some tough love.
And I'll jump in right behind there. As a father, one of the things that I kind of do with my children is I am not, a multimillionaire. My life has been in transition for the last 3 or 4 years after my divorce. And so I wanted my children to understand the value of what they had, but also understand that I'll take care of it. I ask them all the time, don't spend your money on frivolous things, especially when your father can afford it, when your father can pay for it, when I can buy these things for you. And one of the things that typically they do is I have them look at their year to date because the older two have jobs. And I look at I tell them, give them an opportunity to look at how much they've made and look at how much they actually have. And the reason why I let them work is because they need to understand the ethics of working. But I also, once they get into college, I'm going to help them build a business so that they can understand leverage. I don't want my children to be great grandchildren to be walking once I've built an empire, once I've built a legacy. And the reason why I don't want that is because I believe that, as the Bible says, to one, lay up an inheritance for your children's children, right? And a good man is defined by what he lays up for his, not only himself, but by his children and his children's children. So therefore, if the Bible also says that sins can pass down through generations, so can wealth, which is information and not just money, because the richest man in the world or the wisest man in the world, which was Solomon, had plenty of riches, but what did his children do with it? They spoiled what he had amassed, right? And what I don't want is my children to not learn the lessons that I learned. And I think the video that you played, it said father walked, I'm in this car, son is in this car, grandson is in this car. What I was missing from that video is that grandfather, it never says that grandfather taught the lessons of how to get from where dad is or grandfather is to where father is. You can see that one parent taught and one parent learned, but the next parent didn't continue to teach. One thing that I teach my children is that they have to be able to duplicate what I am giving them. So I give them duplicatable principles to not just take and grasp a hold of, but they still have to, go through life. But at the same time, they have to be able to pass those down to their children, and their children can do the same. That's how you build a legacy. That's how you keep the great grandson from walking. And I'll toss it over to any other fellow who wants to chime in.
I'll go ahead. Yeah, I think we might, at times, not even us, just in general, we oftentimes get work ethic confused with struggling. Teaching your child work ethic does not mean that they're struggling. You're just teaching them the necessary tools needed to get it, if it won't be handed to them, right? So in that particular video, I completely understand it, but I agree with Chris as well. Like, there has to be some teaching down the line, because if we get to the point where the grandson is in a Ferrari, that's some type of wealth being accumulated. And then the great grandson, where did it go? You know what I mean? What are we withholding it? Where is that transfer of wealth at? But I do agree with the idea of teaching your children work ethic. Now, for me, I don't want my children, especially if I have a son, a young black man, a young black boy, having to go through what I went through growing up, because, I had food, clothing, and shelter. I never wanted for I wanted for a lot, but I never needed anything. You know what I mean? Everything I needed, I had. But that has nothing to do with the environment that I came up in. So I don't want my child, especially a young black boy, growing up in any type of environment close to what I came up in. You know what I mean? I lost so many peers before I hit 18. And my father was, as an adult now, I can see my father had it. But again, we grew up in Los Angeles, so you could be in $1 million home in the middle of the hood. You know what I mean?
Literally.
But one of the things that was instilled in me And in all the, I'm the youngest of 5 boys. My father always taught us the value of the hood and where you come from. He never taught us to run and escape and leave the hood. I actually have a cousin. I'm named after my uncle, and he named his son, his youngest son, Shahid as well. He wrote a book at 8 years old. I got it somewhere. This is he's a sophomore in college now, but this is my little cousin's book, as you can see by Shahid Muhammad. But it said my grandfather refused to leave the hood. So for us, we always were taught the values of raising your community up from within versus running away from it. So for me, work ethic will definitely be taught. But this idea of struggling, because with the proper work ethic, things will come to you. You will be able to bear the fruits of your labor, and I'll leave it at that.
I think when we talk about struggle a little bit, real quick, sorry, Shan, when we talk about struggle a little bit, I think having a struggle element in the upbringing is going to help, just on the basis of you don't always hear yes, and to be able to handle the no's you hear, to be able to handle, you know what, I don't have. And matter of fact, a good friend of mine has this saying, no doesn't always mean no, right? So in struggling, we can show kids, we can show our children that even though you don't have what you need right now, or even though you don't feel like you can get it, that doesn't mean it's a no. It might just be a not right now. That might just be a way to teach, okay, you ran into a wall. How do you figure out how to navigate now? Do you have that backbone? Like, do you have that backbone to say, you know what, I got knocked down, but I'm gonna get back up and I'm gonna keep pushing. I'm gonna make it through.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Shan, man.
No, I know we got like Clifford and King pulled up. I just want to run that video real quick again, and probably some new people in the chat, so that's watching the live. So I'm gonna run that video one more time, and then we'll get King and Clifford's opinion on it. Here we go, guys. Let me hit it real quick. Watch this.
My grandfather walked 10 miles to work every day. My father walked 5. I'm driving a Cadillac. My son is in a Mercedes. Said my grandson will be in a Ferrari. But he said my great-grandson will be walking again. So I asked him, I said, well, why is that? And he said to me, tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. He said to me, many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors.
Many will not understand, but you have to raise warriors. Tough times create strong men. Strong men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create tough times. What you think about that, Clifford? Is it important that we make our children struggle a little bit or a lot of bit to understand the importance of responsibility? Or if you have the means, financially specifically, is it important that we just make life easy for them? Because if you already struggled and did the work on building, digging a ditch digging a hole and planting the seed and building the tree, should you just let your children bask under the shade since you did all the hard work of working in the sun? Or should you make your children go out there and work in the sun like you did? How important is that for you? Or what is your philosophy on that, Clifford? And then we'll come to King after that.
I have mixed emotions about the clip, so I can't speak to all of what I feel out of consideration of efficiency. But what I will say is, and if you got that time to speak to it, but what I will say is struggling becomes a relative term. Struggling in the ancient sense here, or the historic sense, the father walking X amount of miles, 15 miles to work, that was, we're in an age where nobody has to walk to work. At all. You can get you can get a welfare bus card and just walk to a bus stop, and that particular scenario is obsolete. So you don't even have to be a person of notoriety or you just need an internet connection to apply online and walk into. You can get that standing outside of a Starbucks to do that. So to apply for a card. So I think struggle becomes relative. Struggling in what it used to mean does not mean what it can mean today. I definitely struggled in a very, very classic sense. Several miles to work. I grew up in the hood of Detroit. No silver spoon out of my mouth, back up against the wall, drug infested community. Father was murdered when I was 10 months old. Never met him. Mother was on drugs and alcohol. I was bounced around in and out of foster care and in the system my entire young life. And, thanks be to God, I never committed a crime. I don't have a record. No children out of wedlock, no divorces, never married, no, never had a smoke in my life, never had a drink in my life. No, God just covered me, and I'm an anomaly because of his grace. But I do know that's the exception. That's not the rule. And so I know that because of my experiences, I struggle in a lot of ways that my children will never have to struggle, simply because I'm a more competent adult than my mother was. So now, because I struggled out of neglect and a father being murdered. I struggled out of the basis of the plight of living in the hood of Detroit, and I struggled out of that. My child won't have that same baseline, so the struggles won't be the same. However, it does not mean that I will not simulate environments or obstacles to help my child learn the principles and lessons that I learned from my struggles. So the struggles don't have to be the same to learn the same lessons. And I think what I love about my childhood and my background is that it taught me everything that I know fundamentally and foundationally. So, they tell you, you grew up in the hood of Detroit. We go anywhere in the world. We don't fear nothing. We fearless, man. We can sleep in the hood. We can sleep on Skid Row and be right at home. That's how it is. That's how we are. So that blessed me in making me fearless, but I can raise my child to be fearless, to be social, to be balanced, to be humble, and he or she not have to experience those same struggles. So I think struggle is the variable. The life principles of respect, humility, discipline, financial management, all of those things I have now today, education and all that stuff, those are the constants. The struggles are the variables. The constants are what we extrapolate from the struggles, and that's the virtues of those elements of character development that I just shared. And I think that's what I want to transpose and transfer to my children. The struggles that I had, the way that I had them, they don't necessarily need those.
Cool. King, Jamal, what you guys think?
Well, for at least for me, I'm a beneficiary of generational wealth. Or generational planning, because I don't believe we're wealthy yet. Well, we will be. Hopefully my grandchildren, my great-grandchildren will be wealthy. Generational planning has benefited me, and being African and being a member of Kappa Alpha Psi and other organizations has taught me that you don't have to pass down trauma to pass down values.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, y'all getting a mature king today. You're gonna get the mature king today. We're not gonna wild out today.
We getting
Where's
that.
your
We not
tie
we
at, King?
we not
Especially,
wilding tonight, King.
I like that quote
no,
though,
we're
King.
not
That's a
well
solid
now.
quote, though. I like that.
Especially because we sponsored by Ripple. If you want discount, 50% discount, put the Ripple King. Go to ripplecode.com. We sponsored. We are actually sponsored. Okay, but be honest with you, we don't have to pass down trauma to pass down values.
That's right.
So if you look at the Boy Scouts or if you look at fraternities, they put you in situations, ritualistic situations that me and Shad don't even have to know each other, or me and Jamal don't have to know each other. But it's certain things that we went through that we could relate to that force us to man up without taking away the pleasures in life. We had to, and Jerron, I apologize as well. We went through situations as fraternity members, simulated, simulated situations. It might not be as severe as the brothers before us. That's why we show deference. But it's simulated situations that teach us the same values. And hopefully we don't pass on the traumas. So I don't subscribe to the fact that you have to make your child struggle. But as for Shahid, I actually lean towards Shahid's sentiments where you can teach values without passing on traumas by providing simulated ritualistic experiences that teach them lessons, i.e., Boy Scouts. There were times where you were in a forest and you had to find a way to do a fire. But you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna bring you to the forest on the weekends. We're gonna teach you how to light a fire, but we're not gonna wait for you to be stranded in the forest. We're gonna teach you these valuable lessons just in case you get stranded in the forest. These are things we need to teach without having trauma. Trauma is when a situation precedes the solution, whether the solution is there or not. If a car breaks down, I will hope, at least flat tire, I will hope your father taught you how to switch a flat tire in the comfort of your garage or parking lot. You don't have to wait for the car to break down for you to learn how to fix a tire. And I think we as the black people or black families need to find a way to transfer values without transferring trauma. Trauma doesn't validate you. Learning a lesson does. So once again, I'm mature king today. But if you do not smoke nicotine and you don't smoke weed, this is the best thing for you. I'm not a cigarette smoker. Ripple, thank you. Ripplecode.com. And the discount code is the Ripple King. Thank you very much.
For sure. Jamal.
All right. So, well, once to start off, salute to you, King, but I don't know the statute of limitations, so I have never gone through any of these aforementioned processes a day in my life. I've never seen it. I have no idea.
No, we don't pledge. We don't haze.
What you speak of. I've never seen it.
We don't pledge or haze. That's a fact.
But I agree. I think one thing that we also have to think about is what are we passing down? Because we look at other ethnic groups, other cultures, and people talk about gaining wealth or getting to a certain position, but there's also difficulty in maintaining it because there's a lot of people that get to that height and then we see them fall off because they're not taught how to maintain it. And I think, at least in my case, like my parents, I love them and they made my life easier than theirs was through hard work, but I had to learn how to work smart. And, for Black people, we're not passing down how to work smart. We're passing down, hey, we worked hard. You got to work harder than everybody else because you're Black, which is true. But we have never passed down. How do you work smart, though? How do you get around these barriers that you
Jamal, you're frozen, bro. Well, I'll jump in real quick. I want to say this because I'm on social media and I am watching several different things happening. If everybody knows who Country Wayne is, and he's a huge
Yeah.
comedian, I was really disappointed in seeing that he bought. I think he said it's $120,000. I think it was a BMW for his 16-year-old son. I was very disappointed. Right, I understand that once you get to a certain status, you want your children to have a little bit better, right? But I think that he could have still taught the same lesson with a paid off car, or and maybe not a brand new 2020 vehicle, but he could have got, anything that would have been um, a working vehicle, because then I don't know if his son wrecked it for the show, for as a as a farce for his television show, or if he actually wrecked it um for because he actually couldn't drive and didn't know how to take care of something valuable. One of the things one of my mentors taught me is that you cannot give basically a Bentley to a 2 year old. They're just not ready for the level of success or maturity to grasp that thing at a young age. You can't even give it to a 15-year-old. They don't understand you of a Bentley or a Range Rover truck or one of the other high end vehicles. They just don't understand it, and so it will be pointless to give somebody something that they haven't learned the value of because you haven't taught them how to understand said value. With that, I'll end my comments there. I do want to say real quick, if you are catching us here on Clubhouse, which is where we started, one of the things that I want you to do is I want you to, since you already have your phone in your hand, switch over to your YouTube app, type in the search bar, ask a black man anything, and join us live. You'll be able to see our faces, our facial expressions, and interact with other people in the comments because we want you to be a part of the show. If you're currently on Clubhouse and you have a question, you want to come over to YouTube because that's where we're posing our questions. The link is at the very top of the chat. If you come over to YouTube, and again, it's youtube.com/ask a black man anything, or just go to the YouTube app, Ask a Black Man Anything. We're also on Facebook. Make sure you come on and you're able to ask us a question. We'd love to see you. With that, toss it back over to our producer, Shan.
Well, yeah, my thoughts. For a long time, I was on the fence about this, right? Because I grew up hearing, you got to get it out the mud like I did, and this is how you do it. I grew up, my father, I never learned I was never given the birds and the bees conversation. I remember distinctly, man, it was 1980 something. I'm a young boy. My father was building, he was building ADUs back then. He was building he was converting a garage into a living space out here in LA for my grandfather. And my uncle was helping him, and my uncle asked my dad, I was standing there. I had to be 12 years old, man, 11, 12 years old. My uncle, and I remember him asking my dad, when you going to teach Shan the birds and the bees? And my father looked at him, he said, he'll figure it out. That's what my dad told my uncle. And I've never had the sex conversation with my dad, right? And so my father was on he'll figure it out. But here's the thing. I grew up not struggling. So that was the sex side. He didn't want to give me no game in that, making me just figure it out, right? But this is my father who had a child at 15 years old. But I didn't grow up struggling whatsoever. Even though I ran in the streets, it was almost unnecessary because I had everything I needed, man. I had clean clothes. I had my own bedroom. I had my own bathroom. I had a swimming pool in the backyard. I had a car at 15 years old, had another car at 16. Essentially, I kind of grew up with a silver spoon in my mouth, right? But then I didn't know about the Country Wayne thing, Chris. I didn't hear about that story. I'm gonna go find out about that. But I remember something that Shaq was saying about how his children, he makes his kids struggle a little bit. When you think I think it was Jackie Chan. Was it Jackie Chan or one of the actors that was talking about how he's not giving none of his children anything and they got to figure it out? There's a lot of wealthy people who are saying that they're not giving any of their children any of their wealth or fortune because they want them to figure it out. So I'm not sure how to really process that, because on one hand, did you guys know you can't buy a Ferrari brand new if you never had one before? Like if right now you hit the lottery and you go to the Ferrari dealer and you'd like to purchase a brand new 2021 Ferrari's going to tell you, no, thank you. You can't buy our car. And the reason why is because you haven't had an older previous Ferrari before. You have no experience in driving a Ferrari. And Ferrari doesn't want you out there tearing up the street, wrecking their cars. So it's almost like they're saying you got to learn a little bit before you come over here. So that's one end. But then you look at people like Trump. Like, remember when it was found out that Trump's dad gave him $1 million in the 70s? Everybody laughed. Oh, Trump, you a billionaire, but you're not self-made. Your daddy helped you. And everybody kind of like laughed at Trump because his dad gave him $1 million back in the 60s or the 70s or whatever year it was for him to start his real estate company, which Trump took that money and turned it into $1 billion enterprise. Well, if you look at me and I say, well, what would I do for my kids? Do I take the Trump route and say, look, man, here, son, here's $1 million. Take this money and go be great, and teach him all the things about business so he can maintain his greatness? Does he turn into a fucking asshole when he may be wealthy, but maybe he has no morals and doesn't give a shit about other people because he doesn't understand what it's like to be poor? Or do you say, no, you need to learn some values and you have to struggle a little bit. You got to go work as a forklift driver at Home Depot, and you got to do a little few, even though you don't have to do that because I got plenty of money and I can buy you a $120,000 BMW. No, I'm going to make you go work. I've been always on the fence about that. But for me, I've just come to the realization that, I'm going to go the Trump route. My sons, no struggling. I'm going to teach them responsibility because that's just how I am. Just like I do everybody around me. I do my employees. I do my friends. I'm going to teach them accountability and whatnot, but struggling and digging ditches the way I had to dig ditches and to do all the hard work when they don't necessarily have to do that. And I don't think that that's going to be the best route. And another thing is, I don't know if anybody, like in this video where he says, my great grandson will be walking again. I can't think of too many examples in history where generational wealth was lost because so many generations was moving on up. I don't think that's really a thing. And if it is, it's probably such a minute percentage that it's not even worth calculating. What I do see from the Rockefellers to the De Beers to the Kennedys to I could name you a whole bunch of families that had rich great grandpa who set everything in motion back in the 16, 17, 1800s, and they chilling today. The Hilton family. The Kardashians, the Jenners. Should Kanye make his children struggle? Should Blue Ivy struggle over with Beyonce? Probably not. I think I'm gonna go that route. So, with all respect to the video, I don't necessarily believe in the age of communication that easy times create weak men. Easy times create weak men, and weak men create tough times. I don't think that's necessarily true. If we apply everything that all you brothers have said, making sure that you can simulate some struggles within your home, but not necessarily go out there and pass on those traumas in real life, like King said, you ain't gotta do all that shit. For what? No, don't make your kids. And that's another thing in the black community. We quick to kick our kids out at 18 years old. We can't wait for them to go out and get to college. And you can't wait for them to figure out credit. How many of y'all parents taught y'all credit? Or you had to figure that shit out on your own? Whose mom and daddy taught them about FICO scores when they were 16 years old, 20 years ago? That didn't happen. You feel me? You had to figure out how many of y'all had student loans that slowed up your life? Probably still got some goddamn student loans. That's crazy to me. So now I look at my two sons, their tuition is already put aside. They don't got, there ain't no loans. There is no, they don't have to fill out a FAFSA form to try to get a student loan. That money's already set aside, and he's only 6. My oldest is only 6 years old. So that's what I believe should happen. That's how I'm gonna do mine. I hope I don't make a mistake. I hope it works out. But that's just how I feel about it, man.
Go ahead, King.
Let me jump real quick, King. Let me jump on that, Shan. But I also want to say I do see those of you who are raising your hand on Clubhouse, and just so you know, the reason why I'm referring back to Clubhouse is because Clubhouse is where this show originally first started, and so we're streaming it live just for a few more months, and then we're actually going to completely cut the Clubhouse portion off because we want you to join us on YouTube live. So if your hand is raised and I saw you, make sure you go over to YouTube app and then click on type in the search Ask a Black Man Anything and join us right here on the conversation. We want to be able to answer your question, but we're not doing it on Clubhouse because this is simulcast. With that being said, I do want to jump on here, Shan, because I think you said something that was extremely important. The need to be able to teach, and I kind of want to pivot a little bit, but King, you can jump in wherever you feel that you want to add in. I want to pivot just a little bit because my mom did not teach me credit. My mom did not graduate from college until 2015, and I had already been to college, so I knew nothing about college. Didn't know that I had to didn't know I had to reply to the acceptance letter. I literally got my acceptance letter to Morehouse and just showed up, and that's all I did. So I've already been teaching my children. When my son got accepted to Fort Valley, I told him to respond. Right? I've actually already added my oldest son to my credit card, and the reason why I'm doing that is because I'm paying that bill, keeping it less than 10% every month, and the balance will never be at its maximum. And the reason why I'm doing that is because when my son graduates from college, I want him to one have his own business so he doesn't have to work through college, right? He can leverage the same business that I have where he can, make, let's say he might only need a couple $1,000s, right? He might only need $1,500. He'll be able to leverage his time and be able to leverage his credit, right? And I'm also just came to my mind. I need to also teach him business credit. But I'm gonna add this in here because I think that if you have children and they're of age, if you're paying your credit card bills on time, or even just one, right? You need to at least add them to that particular card. So by the time they're 21, their credit score will be 650, 700 or better so that they can buy a home when they graduate and not move into an apartment. One of the things that we fail to do, or that my family failed to do, maybe because they didn't know, they failed to teach. How did my grandmother have a house for 50 years? 50, right? My grandmother's been living in that home for 50 plus years. She's 93. I think they've had that home for 70 years or so. And I know they've had that long because my mom is 63, right? My grandmother has property in Arkansas. And here's another thing that I want to say because my grandfather owned 600 acres of property in Arkansas, but he sold it to his cousin for a Cadillac. And so there was no lesson taught that you can keep this property. Do you know that with the mind that I have now, the things that you could do with 600 acres, even if we gave each family member 2 acres and we lived off of 250 because we produced a business from that, all of us will be super wealthy, and our children's children, we could pass that along. So that's what I want to work on now. I want to toss it over to King. Just reminder, real quick. I see the clubhouse room growing. You have your phone in your hand. Go to YouTube because that's where we are simulcasting this broadcast. Type in "Ask a Black Man Anything," the same name as this club, the same name as the title of this room, and then join us there. King, I toss it to you.
So, I want to go back to what Sharon said. Sharon talked about name certain affluent families. I want to let y'all know when I gave my response, I specifically designated that I don't have generational wealth. I have generational planning. Generational wealth is extremely hard. Let me get back to being ignorant and spicy. It's extremely hard to fuck up. When people have real generational wealth, it's hard to fuck up. The Walmarts, the Carnegies, the Fords, it's like it's almost impossible to fuck up because they have these trusts that will only allot their family members a certain amount of money, right? So it's hard to fuck up if you really have generational wealth, but we're not there yet. We have generational planning, so we're getting there, right? Where we establish, certain financial tools and resources where no matter what decisions we make, whoever bears the last name will be okay. And this is what we have to understand about generational wealth. Generational wealth is a financially impenetrable system that even if you have children who are not trained, who have not set up the right behaviors, they can't mess it up even if they try to. One book I want everybody to get is called Family Wealth. It's by James Hughes. He's a real estate, he's a will and trust lawyer. Family Wealth by James Hughes. This book will show you how men and women and families who have real generational wealth uses money and family get-togethers to pass down these values. It's a great book, a bestseller. I encourage everybody to get that book. But before I end my statement, in the book, in the beginning, it talks about a tree that only grows in Rhode Island. And this tree, whoever plants the tree will never see it reach its full blossom. And this is how you have to think about generational wealth. If you are the person in your family that's going to start generational wealth, you will not see its full blossom. It takes over 100 to 150 years for it to actually grow. So think about generational wealth like that. I'm planting something that only my children's children will actually bear the fruits. So it comes from a very unselfish, egoless, non-traumatic mindset. So if you're trying to teach your kids through trauma and struggle how to be rich and appreciative and gratitude, you already lost. You lost. Forget about it. But I have good news for you. Ripplecode.com. Please subscribe. Discount, 15% discount. Thank you. Take care.
Shout out to Gail Lockett. She wrote in the comments, and thank you, Gail, for being here. I appreciate you. You know how I feel about you. I love you so much. I taught my daughter about credit when she was still in high school, and she's sitting at a high end of 700 at the age of 23. Can you imagine if our parents did that for us? Can you imagine if they don't even have credit classes? They don't even have a finance class in high school, do they? Even today, they don't teach finances in high school, do they? Not here in LA. They do. They do. Is it extracurriculaire?
It's an extracurricular. I had the option to take. I didn't have the option. They set aside certain students to take, like marketing, like stock market classes. They had certain students that can take that, and I'm like, that's right up my alley. But at that time, I didn't know, and they wouldn't allow me in the class anyway. So
I graduated high school in '89. They ain't had nothing like that. I did take photography, and I took auto mechanics. I knew how to change. That was there. I knew how to change a spark plug, but they ain't teach me nothing about credit. I learned about credit after I got my first $90 Bank of America Visa in 1989, and I went straight to the mall and bought a chain from I forget the name of the jeweler, but I bought a chain for like $75, and I ain't paid them suckers at all. I didn't pay. I was like, the bill came. The bill was like $10. I was like, I ain't paying that. I didn't care. My credit tanked, man. Freshman year in college, I ain't got no credit. And I wanted to get a car. I had an Audi, and I wanted to do so. I wanted to get some rims from my car, and I wanted to put them on credit. They was like, we ain't giving you no credit. You didn't even pay the $90 credit card you had, man. So I didn't know nothing about credit. But we got people like Gail, brothers like you, and other people in the chat that's saying that they take care of their children to set them up. And so that's why I think, should we just say, you know what, I'm not going to put you on my credit card and make sure it's paid and build your credit up. Why would I do that? I'm going to make you struggle like me. That's ridiculous to me.
What Chris was saying, yeah, my bad. What Chris was saying, though.
Go on, Ron.
No, go ahead. I already spoke. Go
I'll
ahead,
be
man.
quick. I'm just going to say that I don't think that we, like when our parents, you're talking about parents and with credit and things like that, and they didn't teach us about those things. A lot of times, man, even our parents didn't know anything about credit to even teach us. And so I feel like now, society has been increased so much that there's so many things now that you can get your hands into. You can research. The internet has become available. There's so much stuff on the internet where you can do your own research and kind of find the different things that you maybe want to invest in and things like that. So now we don't have an excuse not to be able to prepare our kids for things such as credit or talking to our kids about how to save money or how to invest. Whereas back in the day, these things wasn't readily available to our parents or those type of people. So now we have that opportunity to do that, and we should, plan accordingly and try to teach our kids those type of things. So I don't even blame my parents for not teaching me about credit back then, because even talking to my mom now, she tell me all the time, well, my mom, my dad, they didn't teach me anything about credit. I didn't know anything about credit, so I didn't know anything to tell you about it. So I don't put the blame on her. I just feel like now that I know about it, I can kind of prepare my kids for the future. And that's what it's all about, giving back to them so they can give back to their kids when they're born.
Jerome, I don't know how I feel about that, because I went through that. I went through that recently, where I was looking at it. My grandmother had 10 kids. That's a hell of a business. We grew up in a farming community. We could have had our own farm. We had land. There's different opportunities that could have been had. And I think about it, the information is not like the information wasn't there. It was still there. You just had to go to the library and read it. You just had to make an effort to actually get to it. More effort than I have to make. And I'll say that I have that I take that for granted, that I have easy access to any sort of information that I look for. I still feel like something should have been done, but I feel like at this point, it's my job to take that charge for my family, for my extended family, and for whomever I come into contact with. But another thing Chris was saying, he was talking about, or maybe it was Shannon, that we as Black families, we have the tendencies to kick our kids out earlier and not support them in the same way. And I feel like that's something that we have totally backwards, especially with the plight that we already have. How are we going to send them out into a world and they are not stable? We're barely stable in our own homes. We kick our 18-year-old out and tell them to go be stable. What are they going to do? Well, oftentimes, they're not going to be able to stay in college. They don't have that home support. They need that. We need to be giving that to them. And like Chris was saying, the credit card thing, a lot of folks don't know that that's being done for everybody else. Whenever we go to our family members and we say, hey, can you co-sign for this car or for this? Can you add me to your credit card? Whatever the case may be. I don't even need the card. I just want to be added to the card. Our families won't do that. Whereas other families are doing that and they're getting ahead because of that. Life insurance. A lot of us don't understand that when our kids are born, if we get life insurance from that point forward, it's already going to be cheap. It's not going to be expensive. But by the time they're 18, they're able to draw a lump sum from it. So if they're 18, they need a car, you can draw from that life insurance and you can give them a car. There's so many financial advantages that other people are taking advantage of that we don't. And then on top of that, we shame ourselves for it. People who are taking food stamps, who are using cash aids of sorts, they feel bad and they feel guilty sometimes, not everybody, but we guilt those people. But then we look at the rich people, when we look at the people who have it, the people who have a lot of wealth, they're taking every tax advantage they can in order not to pay taxes. Some of them, they'll buy an airplane at the end of the year so that they don't have to pay taxes for the next 2 years. And when we get mad about somebody, we fuss at our people, you need to get yourself off food stamps, you need to do this and do that. True, you need to use the system to get yourself ahead, not use the system to build a comfortable life that is minimal. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but I think that's a mindset thing that's been passed down to us even before our grandparents were even here. Like, I feel as Black people, we've been taught and it's been pounded in our minds, work hard, don't cheat the system. work hard, don't cheat the system. Anyone that cheats the system is bad. And it's been ingrained, and that notion has been passed down to where today we'll shame people for circumventing certain things when we see all these other ethnic groups. They do it all the time. They're taught that as kids. They're taught how to game the system. They're taught how to game the tax laws. They say, hey, when you get 18, you get this business, do this. And hey, when your child is of a certain age, you can hire them into your business and you can write all that off, right? So that's why I'm saying, like, we have to pass down working smart too. We pass down morals and values and ethics and how to treat people and learning how to people move, but we don't pass down how to actually work smart. So we've had generations of us just working hard. Everyone else is working smart. And that's why we've been stagnant. So I feel like we're in the best place now where we have access. We have access to the same information that everyone else has had. And so now it's on us. You know, it's unfortunate that, you know, our grandparents and parents got swindled out of things. And right now there's nothing we can do because they didn't know. But now we know, and we have the opportunity, and we're seeing it even with the men on the stage with kids. Like, you know, Shan, he already got, like, they'll never know what a student loan is. You know what I mean? They'll never know what that is, right? Some of you guys, they'll never know what working minimum wage is because they're going to know how to invest and how to get stocks, and they're going to make their own money just learning the market. So I feel like those tough times showed us what it's like to go through that, but now we're knowing how to be smart about it. So I'll leave my mic there.
You know what's crazy, fellas? What's crazy is we talk about family. We not only talk about the initial family or the nucleus family, but we also talking about when our children, or those who have it, those who want children, are going to marry others. That's going to be family as well. And you have to teach those values as well. I was in another clubhouse and this guy says, I don't want my daughter to marry a guy that doesn't make a certain amount of salary, because how is he going to take care of my daughter? And then I looked at him because I had the privilege of going to certain schools. I said, you know, the difference between you and other coaches, if your daughter marry a guy in other cultures who has money, you know what he's going to say? You could come and work for me. See, that's real flexing, right? He's not going to teach him struggle. He's going to say, you know what? My daughter likes you. I don't really like you. I don't really like your race, right? I don't really like your culture. But because she loves you, come and work for my company. Come and work for me, because I can't have my daughter struggle. We're not thinking like Jamal said. We're not thinking like that. We're not thinking smarter. So you want this man to go to struggle out of college, but your daughter loves him, so you want them to struggle, and vice versa. It could be a son of a father of a son, and the young lady might not be as established. If you have the means to help your family, why don't you?
That's what Trump did. Didn't he brought in his daughter's husband?
The whole cabinet.
You know, shit. Nepotism is real. He brought in this whole. He brought it. Okay, that's your husband. Bring him on. No problem. I think even Chelsea Clinton's boyfriend was hooked up by the Clintons. The other folk do that. They don't have no problem. Okay, does your daughter love him? Then cool. He's good. Tell him to come on inside. You know, out here in L.A., we have a auto dealer over by USC called Felix Chevrolet. Felix Chevrolet is extremely popular Chevrolet. And what happened is his name was Shamus. Brother, is a Jewish guy, and he started buying up property way back, like in the 40s and the 50s, and he bought the rights to Felix the Cat in perpetuity forever. And so that's why Felix Chevrolet has Felix the Cat on the building, right? The cartoon. But Shamus started buying up all of Figueroa. He started buying all the property on Figueroa, and USC, the college USC, is on Figueroa. Shamus' daughter, husband, is helping run the whole business. Now, Shamus has already passed away. He passed away maybe 10 years ago. But the kids is running the whole thing, and they own damn near the entire Figueroa Boulevard. And USC has been begging Shamus for property forever. And the Shamus family, the Felix Chevrolet's family, saying, nope, but you can lease it. We'll give you some 99-year leases. So half, now I won't say half, but a nice percentage of the property that USC is on is owned by the Shamus family, a fucking car dealership owner from back in the day who said he's buying property and not selling it and bequeathing it to his daughter and his daughter's husband. So yeah, man. But we don't do that.
Yeah, so this and Shannon's right, and I'm glad we gave a real life example. At the end of the day, that's what I'm trying to tell you. If reason why we talk the way we talk, because we don't really have it.
We don't have the knowledge, bro, because
no. I think
it's the
Jamal's
knowledge.
correct. I think Jamal's correct. We do have the knowledge, and we do have
brother. There's people in Atlanta right now that there's people in Atlanta right now that people are trying to come up and swoop up their houses because they know that for them 100,000 is a lot. But we don't have the knowledge to say, hey, nah, we don't. We're not selling us.
But they don't. I mean, they don't have it. They never had it. They're not the people I'm talking about. I'm talking about the people that do stuff that's illegal. Only if you get caught. I'm talking about the people that do real estate covenants. You know what a real estate covenant is? Where you as a group, a community says we're not selling to anybody unless they're from this neighborhood. That's illegal.
Yeah.
That's illegal, but it's still being practiced. And I'm not encouraging anybody to do that. Please, let me just say that because I don't want to go back to the feds. I'm just telling you, at the end of the day, you laugh too hard, Chris. Stop. At the end of the day, I don't want to go back to the feds. And I'm just telling you, I don't promote that. I'm just saying what other coaches do. They do real estate covenants where they don't sell to you unless you're from the community. So it's things going on that we know. It's not about knowing, it's that we don't trust each other. I don't trust none of y'all. Y'all don't trust me. Maybe Jamal trusts me because he came to see me. But at the end of the day, I don't trust none of y'all. Y'all don't trust me because y'all don't know me. But we have to start trusting each other as a community. Because this is why you do real estate covenants. And this is how you do other things that are not permissible. But they keep the money within the community. So once again, I'm not condoning that. I don't want anybody to do anything illegal. Let me make that straight up. But there are things that we have knowledge of, but it's not about the knowledge. Knowledge is probably the first battle, so Rob is right. But the second battle is, do we trust each other to exercise this stuff? People don't even trust their own family members.
Right. But I think the third part is being in a position where you can do these things. And that kind of speaks to what King and Shan were talking about, where the Seamus older, he said, yo, we not selling that. And we just going to hold on to this land. But they were comfortable enough to do that. They weren't struggling. They didn't need the money that forced them to sell. So like what Robert's talking about in Atlanta, yeah, it was easy for them to buy all the land. It was easy for them to buy the land for the new stadium that Arthur Blank just built because they needed the money. Right? When you are living in a state of desperation, you'll take anything. You won't stand your ground and say, you know what? You can't buy this land for 100,000 because I already make that and then some, like we good. Right? But unfortunately for us, we have so many people that have valuable things, but they're struggling. So it's easy to take from them. So I think that's where all of us now, we're in a different state where we're working to get to that point where when our kids get older, when our kids grow up, whatever we give to them, they won't be struggling or in a position of need so that they can negotiate from a better position, so that they can say, you know what? I'm not going to sell this house. I'm not going to sell this land. I'm going to lease it to you though, because I don't need the money. And I think that's where things are going to start to change. And it's like, we have to realize like we are the beginning of the generational wealth. Like, and it's unfortunate it's that way, but I feel like all of us, we're the beginning of our family's generational wealth. So I'll just end right there.
You know, Gladys.
I know we got to move on.
I'm sorry, it's my bad. You know, Gladys Knight sold her masters for $50 million today. Is it Gladys Knight?
I thought that was Tina Turner.
Tina Turner sold her masters for $50 million. You know, she could have had administration rights and for less than that and not pay taxes, but she sold it. So my question to all of us, where are all the black lawyers that didn't say, yo, what the fuck are you doing, Tina? Where were they at?
And NFT would have been better than what she did. Then, like,
Where are all the black intelligent men like us to stop her? Because I didn't know about it until now. Where are
So
the
we,
black intelligent women to say, Tina, what the fuck are you doing?
She might be
It's on
surrounded
now.
by a
You can
bunch
look
of
it up.
yes
You can look up.
by a bunch of yes people. She
She's
probably
so
don't have,
exactly.
when you start making a certain amount of money, and I've seen this, man, in some of the wealthy friends of mine, in Hollywood, that you get to a certain, you don't even listen to people that gives you any opposition. They tend to avoid people that because there's a certain level of arrogance that comes with wealth, and so you see, and you can see it in Beverly Hills, man, especially in the Diamond. You can see how people even drive, the way they drive their cars. It's almost everybody's fucking entitled, man. And so you see some people who, well, I know some people who keep away anybody that opposes any of their critical thinking. And so Tina Turner I don't know, but she may not have anybody in her life that says, "What the fuck are you doing?" It may be all, "Girl, that's a good idea. Oh yes, Tina, that's smart. You so smart. Oh, 50 million. Oh yes, get that money, girl. You could turn that 50 into 500," and probably telling her all that kind of shit. I have no idea. So, but wealth sometimes, man, it changes the way you think, and you can literally eliminate everybody who's good for you out of your life, and accept everybody that just wants to rub on you and be around you and live off of you as long as they possibly can. So maybe Tina had that kind of shit around her, because if she would have followed anything from Michael Jackson, she would have learned, don't sell them goddamn masters.
buy everybody else's.
She sold them and she could have leased them and it'd have been tax write off. But what she did, she got 50 million that she has to pay taxes on. So I just want to know what was going on with that particular thing, and where are we? Because I'm putting myself in the box. Where were we as men and women to stop her? Because we don't trust each other. She probably had Jewish lawyers like Michael, who was trying to get rid of his masters. Why don't we have our own people? Why don't we trust our own people? Why?
I don't know, man.
That goes
Chris?
all the way down to the bottom level. I think we were supposed to move topics though, because that's about to spark a whole nother one.
Yep. We want to take a quick pivot and welcome everybody on Clubhouse. If you are watching and listening on YouTube, thank you for being here. If you have a question about something that you heard, by all means, hit the top of the chat and join us live. If you're on Clubhouse, the raise hand feature is on, but you actually can't ask a question on Clubhouse. This is just a simulcast. We want you to have, since you have your phone in your hand, go over to YouTube, type in Ask a Black Man Anything, join us there and pose your question live. You don't have to come on camera in order to join us or to pose a question, but you do have to go to YouTube in order to pose your question. With that being said, we want to turn it back over to Shan for our second hot topic.
Yeah, I got something for you guys. This is something that King hit us with earlier this week. Let's pull that up. Boom. R. Kelly. You know, he's been in the news a lot lately. But apparently R. Kelly plans to snitch on multiple celebrity pedophiles. Apparently he's talking about another rapper, he's talking about another big singer, and he basically said, if I'm going down, we all going down. That's what R. Kelly is basically saying. I know he's going to try to appeal that decision of him on that RICO charge and sex trafficking, but he's basically saying, well, shit, if that's the case, then I want everybody to get in trouble. So the question is, fellas, the snitch culture, the snitching, the street, the whole what is it? You know, like even with the Tekashi 6ix9ine kid and with the guy with 6ix9ine and the whole street thing, and I'm not telling, and I'm not, it's no telling culture. Does that apply to pedophiles? Does that apply to the street? Does it apply to any of you? How do you guys feel about people telling on other people because they got in trouble doing what they were doing?
It's
I
all
want to say something because I brought up the question because, and I actually talked about it on my YouTube page called Conversation with King, and it's for the community to weigh between the father code, the black code, and the street code. And for me, because I at one point in my life wasn't a civilian. I still to this day adhere to the oath that I took in regards to that. So I don't believe in snitching. However, I believe all pedophiles and rapists and molesters should be put in jail. After seeking mental health treatment, they still should be put in jail. It is a mental health issue, and it's also a disgusting thing for men or women to be participating. If you are a civilian, I encourage you to call the authorities and put these individuals in jail. If you are a so-called gangster, do not call the cops and protect your community. It doesn't mean kill them. It means make sure that they're not able to function in your community. You could ostracize them. When I was in the feds, when we had people that were rapists and molesters, after you check in, we see your paperwork to see what your charges were, if you told or not, or whatever, you have time to go up top. Up top means you're going to you're going to be in basically you go into solid, you're going to the box. You're going to the box, or you're going to another protective unit. You cannot rest here comfortably. You cannot come here comfortably. And I think communities need to do that. If you're a gangster or in the streets, you need to make sure you protect your community and make sure that these people cannot come into your community and function properly. I'm not promoting violence or death, but they need to be ostracized. If you're a civilian, please call the authorities on them. I cannot call the authorities on them. I'm not a gangster, I'm not a street dude, but I will not call the authorities on them, but they cannot be comfortable around me. So with that being said, R. Kelly, the question to Shan, is R. Kelly a civilian, yes or no?
Hell yeah.
So in this situation, the street code doesn't apply here because it's not street activity.
Right.
The street code only applies when it comes to street activity.
Right.
This was organized crime. You know what I mean? He had and I don't even know if they would even, it was organized crime because he had a whole child sex ring.
Yeah, it's Rico, but it's Rico. It is kind of street.
That is street. That is organized. The mafia is organized crime.
But you know what he means though. It's not like R. Kelly wasn't shooting people. Like he wasn't engaged in that. Like he was raping kids. Like that's a different. No, but I'm saying R. Kelly's not a gang member though. Right. He's not a street dude. That's what
that's my question. The question to y'all is he a civilian? That's why I asked the question. Is he a civilian?
Yeah, because pedophilia is not something.
So if he's a civilian, he can do whatever he wants.
I mean, yeah, whatever. I mean, but pedophilia is not considered a street crime. That's not a crime you're gonna be accepting on the street. Right. I can go home right now and see a drug deal happen in front of my face, and I'm gonna look the other way. But if I see somebody harming a child, that's cut. It's out because that's not a part of the street code.
Yeah, but see, that's the thing. You said the same thing I said, Shahid. You said any street dude sees somebody raping a little kid, you're gonna have to apply pressure.
Because it's not a street. That's not part of the street.
It's not part of it. So you have to apply pressure. But as a civilian, you have to call the cops.
Well, a civilian won't call the cops no matter what. So,
right.
Yeah. So
I wouldn't advise a civilian to fight someone because what comes with hurting a person, maybe they can't handle jail time.
Right.
That's what I'm saying.
All right. So my thing is though, whether R. Kelly was a street guy or a civilian, he needs to snitch on everybody. He needs to tell on everybody that's involved, everybody that had something to do with kids being taken care of, any celebrity that hasn't been exposed for molesting kids, molesting women, men, needs to, man, woman, child, whoever, they all need to go down.
Okay. I'm with you, Mom. He
needs to start singing like it's a new album. Sing it all, nigga. Get them all out of here.
I agree with that. Anybody that did anything to a child should face repercussions. However, the way he's going about doing it is just disgusting. You only doing it because of what you got caught for. You didn't think about doing it prior to getting caught. So this is what
I don't care. As long as they
I'm with you, but just on his behalf, that's just disgusting.
It is. Let's get them all. Let's get them all, Kelly. Let's get them all. Get them all out of here.
Yeah, that's I'm along that same line. Like, As far as code wise, for me, whatever crime you do, if that's the type of crime you do, you ain't supposed to talk about other people who do it. If you're a tax evasion person, you ain't supposed to talk about the person who taught you. If you out in the streets and you selling drugs, you ain't supposed to talk about the people you connect with. But in this case, I'm like, shit, go ahead and sing, bro. Sing all you want to. Let everybody know, please. Hurry and do it real quick. Why you even talking about it? You shouldn't have said I'm planning on doing this. You should have said I am doing this, because ain't nothing these folks gonna do to come and help you now anyway. Ain't none of them gonna come help you. They don't want their name attached to you. They can't help you. So you might as well start singing, bro. Start singing. Let's get this cleaned up.
And even if we take it to like criminal activity, like how many like real criminals and gangsters snitch themselves? Like Italian mafia, like they snitch all over the place.
All of
They
them.
snitching all over the place. Like
all of them.
like Sammy the Bull snitched. He was like, "Come get me. I snitched. Come at me. Come find me."
They all snitch.
So it's like, is a street code like? Do people really adhere to it? Like we say?
No, only dumb
No,
people.
Like this, you know what's crazy? It's like the civilians.
It's a level. It's a level
more
you
than
reach.
the actual street people do. Like the civilians won't tell out of fear, but that some street guys, they'll tell on everybody. Like, oh, I ain't trying to do that.
Tough. No, because they tough. But I'm gonna be real with you. I take that back. Not dumb. A lot of honorable brothers don't snitch. And the reason why I say I'm dumb, because it was my situation. I got snitched on by everybody, but I never told on them. And the funny thing is, I didn't get as much time because of the work I did in my community.
Ooh.
But I was supposed to do 5. I ended up doing a year and a day because of the community work I did in my community. And the judge took, she felt some type of empathy for me.
You still cool with the people that snitched on you, King?
I don't talk to them. I can't talk to them.
Are they still in jail?
No, they out. But I can't.
I
won't be cool with them. They told on me, right? And they told on me after the fact. They got caught and told me after the fact, thinking they were going to lessen their sentence, kind of to what R. Kelly said is doing, allegedly.
They was watching the movies, huh?
So my thing is, Jamal is right. The street code is not adhered to anymore. There are some honorable brothers that still respect the street code, but those same honorable brothers do not believe in rapists, pedophiles, and molesters.
Yeah, it's quiet.
So just like Shahid said, those ones that do adhere to it, if those dudes came to jail, they'll be hurt severely.
The cold part about all of it is when we look at our hoods, we look at Chicago, Baltimore, we look at these places that's really bad. Ain't nothing gonna change until people start snitching. If we really want to clean up our neighborhoods, ain't nothing gonna change. And we have all these.
I never really believed in that
communities.
shit,
man.
We have all these honorable communities and all this other stuff. We have the Nation of Islam. We have all these. We have the Hebrew Israelites. All these people. Y'all. I get upset because there's a lot of talk, and it's like, let's just walk the streets. Let's get 1,000 dudes, 1,000 honorable dudes, and walk the streets, and it's gonna be dangerous as hell. Certain things is gonna be bad. But
see, that's what Farrakhan wanted. That's what Farrakhan tried. Farrakhan was always preaching like, we don't need the police, we don't need this. All we need is brothers to stand up, be willing to die. That's what he been preaching for 30, 40 years, man. He said all we got to do is get 100 men of a neighborhood, 100 men of a neighborhood to patrol their own neighborhood, and all the women and children to be safe. But 100, who's going to organize 100 men of a neighborhood?
It's patrol and teach too. It ain't just patrol. You gotta teach and educate and provide opportunities, provide those jobs, provide ways for, huh?
Why did you say we have to all snitch to clean up the neighborhood? I'm confused.
Well, because if everybody is afraid to tell on who's doing what, they gonna do whatever they gonna do anyway. You ain't gonna tell.
No,
ain't nobody gonna tell.
They tell, but you don't. It's anonymous callers. People tell, and people tell on themselves. I'm just trying to figure out. I'm confused.
But see, it's not snitching. Snitching doesn't apply to everybody. It's only snitching if you participate in that activity.
Right.
But there's a lot of people. There's a lot of people outside. There's a lot of people outside of that activity that's afraid because they still feel like it's applied to the whole. It's applied to everybody. It's not. It's applied to everybody in their mind, even though it doesn't technically apply to them.
But
You know what
yeah, I mean, the consequences are a little different. You know what I mean? And it depends on the crime. Now, if you see me blow somebody's head off, and you know what I mean, and you're a witness to that, then you know what I mean. It's going to be a little different. But snitching it really only applies to the people that are in that life.
Yes.
You participate in that life, and then
Yes.
when you got to face the consequences of that life, you start running your mouth. That's
Right.
what snitching is. I don't expect the old Hispanic lady that been living across the street from me all my life to if she tell that's
She's
part
going to tell on you. You're
Right.
going to jail.
But she's not gonna tell, because more often than not, at least in my belief, she's not gonna tell out of fear that
They
she's
won't
gonna
know.
get in trouble. If she's seen, if the officer comes to their door like some of they dumb selves do, and you don't do like
I was
Steve is
told women
doing,
and
hey, I
children was
don't know
always
what
off
you're
limits.
talking about.
And in life, I thought women and children were always off limits. So even if she do tell, what kind of consequences or repercussions is going to come
It could be it could be Uncle Joe then. Just for the sake of the scenario, it could be Uncle Joe. Joe saw what happened, but you come to his doorstep with it. He can't tell. He can't say anything because he's still gonna have that fear, even though it may not be warranted. He's still gonna have the fear.
If you do a crime in front of a civilian or with a civilian, you're going to jail. You're going to jail, okay? That was the whole thing about Whack. Whack was saying about 6ix9ine. You put someone that's not about that life, you deserve to go to jail. You deserve to go to jail because you had someone that's not really built for that doing criminal activities, and he's going to tell. Like, so I get what you're saying. I don't believe in snitching, but if you're saying civilians need to report if they don't like something, that's their job. Like this, a real gangster going to tell you, cops doing their jobs and I'm doing my job. They don't really hate each other. That's their job.
Yeah.
You're supposed to arrest me. That civilian's supposed to tell on me. That's their job. You can't knock that. You can't knock that. But my thing is, I have an issue like Shahid said, if you are a participant or a beneficiary of criminal activities, you better keep your mouth shut because that's against the code. But once again, do not do crime. You're going to go to jail or you're going to die. I want to make that clear. You're going to go to jail and you're going to die. Period. That's it. There's no other way around it. So if that's what you want to do, it's rare that you might have someone like me that did something and I'm living decent now. But y'all understand, I didn't go to jail when I was in high school. I went to jail when I was 39 years old, and I had stuff already. So when I came home, it was easy to make a transition back into life. Most of our young men and women are going to jail before they even finish high school or after high school. They don't have nothing when they come out. Nothing. So I advise everybody, don't commit any crimes, don't do anything illegal. Work your way to the top or think your way to the top. But R. Kelly, he is an entertainer. If he snitched on all the pedophiles, good for him. I couldn't do it. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, I think, when you're in that type of life and that type of activity going on, we got to get those people. I mean, we got to get everybody off the streets, realistically, that's committing heinous crimes. But when it's, I have a certain, soft spot when it comes to children. So when you committing crimes on young kids like that's totally different. So, and I don't know how true it is when he's talking about, I don't even know if he actually said it. I just read it on the internet somewhere. It's not something I truly care about, but when it's if it's entertainers and they, who knows, somebody else might have a rink just like he did. So we definitely got to expose that and get that out of here.
And I kind of get the feeling that what he's talking about telling on is actually people who is messing with like preteens and stuff like that. As far as I know, R. Kelly was all teenagers and up, as far as I know. But he was into preteens too.
Preteens, men, girls, he was into everything. And this is why I don't listen to his music anymore. And he's one of the best artists, entertainers you'll ever meet in your life. And I made a conscious choice not to listen to his music because he's a nasty individual. He's a creep.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
Well, he need to be singing like a bird. He need to go ahead and be a damn parrot, canary, whatever.
Yeah, and the reason why he caught the RICO charge, because a lot of people are saying, well, why did he get RICO charges and why is it sex trafficking? I mean, he was just a pedophile. Is because he had a whole crew that was covering up for him. They used the old law they used the old law in the books that really don't apply these days to get R. Kelly. And so because he had the nannies and the butlers and the housekeepers and the cleaners and his managers and all these different people all in his organization, they see the thing about organized crime is everybody don't have to be a gangster. Just everybody got to know that some criminal shit is going on. So everybody ain't got to be. This ain't the mafia, goddammit. It could be R. Kelly, this fucking monster, and then everybody else that just works for him and is hush hush. Well, if 3 or more motherfuckers know that you're doing something, you got an organization. You got a criminal organization, and so they got him on RICO with that. Even if he was the only one benefiting sexually, if the goddamn maid knows. And the groundskeeper knows and the butler knows, and he got a criminal organization, and that's how they got him on RICO charges and sex trafficking.
That was in New York. That wasn't in Illinois. He still
he got what 3 more states that's waiting to try him. That's just one. Mind you guys, he only got convicted in 1 state. The other 3 are waiting for his ass. So he got it bad, man. They got him. Just, I don't know, man. Anyways,
are they holding anybody else who was part of this organization culpable?
They are going to.
For me, I think take everybody down. Take the parents down too. Right. Take everybody down.
That's another question I want to ask.
This some New Jack City shit.
That's a question I want to ask everybody on this panel, particularly Shaheed. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but in I think World War II, in regards to the Nazis, they had the Nuremberg trial, where soldiers were convicted because even though they were given an order to kill or to hurt Jewish, they followed the orders, and they had the right to say no, and they didn't. But their excuse was I was following orders, but they still got convicted. Similar to the RICO trial, like the RICO situation, like Shan said. If you know about a situation, which is conspiracy, you are just as guilty because you didn't do anything to stop it. Do you believe that the nanny, his bodyguards, his friends, because they didn't know about it, because they knew about it, they are just as guilty because they didn't stop him, just like a Nazi soldier? Listen, how can I say no to Hitler? Because he pays for me, he takes care of my family, and I could get hurt too. They were going through it themselves and saying, hey, this man pays for me, he takes care of me, I know what he's doing wrong, but how can I stop him? So I have to act like I'm blind to it.
No,
I have my answer. But what do you think? Any one of you,
yes.
Do you think they are deserving of prison time?
All of them, all of them. Go take them all, and the mamas and the daddies too. All of them.
I agree with you, Shan. But what do you?
In that particular situation, though, I would base it on based on how much information you have. Because if you know he got a bunch of females going on, the nanny might not know that these are 16 and 17-year-old girls. You know what I mean? So she might just know, hey, this is what they got going on. This is the system. I'm supposed to, or the landscaper somebody driving by. Let me give
hell
them
nah, Shaheed. You
capping
for them.
You
capping for them. Shaheed, he had women locked in the basement, bro, pissing in a fucking pan, pissing and shitting in a bedpan, and they had to knock on the door with a special knock to let them know they want to eat.
Yeah. And all that, they gotta go there.
And it wasn't R. Kelly bringing the motherfucking slop. It was some other person that was working for him going down the goddamn basement, feeding her the slop of food nah, man. All of them know. Take them all down.
I kind of. There is a point though. There is because if you know, you knew.
I forgot about because I'm just thinking he just had a bunch of young women but I forgot about all the other extra shit.
So there's some people like y'all saying,
Rob,
like y'all saying.
No, that's a fact though, Rob. He had some horrific shit going on.
I
Rob,
get you. No, I totally get that. But I'm saying like anybody who knew they knew, lock them up. The groundskeeper might not have ever been inside. He might have been just outside doing his thing, seeing cars pull up. They pull into a garage. He don't really know. He might suspect.
He can still
But he
get
don't-
prosecuted though. He can
But
still
Rob,
get prosecuted.
Rob, you also got to understand that landscaper, the gardener, he had an order. If some people that ain't
Yeah.
supposed to be around here, you got to give us a heads up and let us know.
But see, he don't know what that order is for. He don't know what that order is for. R.
But-
Kelly's a famous person. Somebody might be set up to rob him.
But
He
that's
don't
why
know.
I said that's the example. That's why I gave that example of the Nuremberg trial, which really happened with Nazi soldiers, and they end up getting convicted years later because I don't care if it's an order from Hitler. I don't care if you couldn't say no. You're getting convicted because you participated. And in a conspiracy, I don't gotta know anything. If I pick up that phone call and you're talking about drugs, and the feds say they want to prosecute me, I'm going to jail. You can say they got this term called ghost weight in the feds, where they could give you ghost weight. My man did 20 years because he says, yo, I'm gonna send you that. They said send you that meant 60 keys. That's ghost weight. You can look it up. Ghost weight.
Crazy.
Right?
There's a movie called K-Pax. There's a movie called K-Pax with Kevin Spacey. Man, it's one of my favorite movies where he's an alien and he comes to Earth and all. It's a good movie. Just go check it out. But there's a scene in the movie where he was talking to a doctor.
Boy, I'm saying, like, I sure would have hated to been his fucking Uber driver one time. Like, I just dropped. Oh shit! Now I'm getting a phone call because y'all see me drop the kids off, or drop him off over there, drop R. Kelly off.
If they prosecute you, sometimes the lawyers don't prosecute you, but if they bring you in and they say, hey, because of it's the feds is not a joke, man. Forget what you saying, shit. That shit is not a joke, man.
No, I was just saying there's a scene in the movie with Kevin Spacey, and I ain't even talking about Kevin Spacey and his with the problems he has with sexual harassment and sexual misconduct. But there's a movie called K-Pax, and in the scene, the doctor was grilling him, telling him, "How are you from? You just a regular human being. How are you from another planet?" And he was asking him all these questions about how it works on his planet, K-Pax. And Kevin Spacey was like, "Yeah, we don't have lawyers." He was like, he was saying that we don't, the men and the women, bearing children and having children it gives a stinky stench and it hurts and all this kind of. He was saying all these different things. He's like, well, how do you guys interact with each other? Do you have locks on your door? He's like, no, we don't have locks on our doors. We don't steal. We don't rob each other. We don't do all that kind of stuff you guys doing here on Earth. He's saying we don't even have. He said, well, how do you have attorneys? He said, no, we don't have lawyers on Planet K-Pax. And then the doctor said, well, how do you determine the difference between right and wrong? And Kevin Spacey, he said, he looked him in the eye and he said, every living being in the universe knows the difference between right and wrong. And that's always stuck with me. So if every living being in the universe knows the difference between right and wrong, the groundskeeper turning a blind eye to watching little girls or knowing somebody's beating on the door down or some weird shit, to me makes you an accomplice. You know right and wrong. But if you turn around and say, well, that's none of my business, I just need my check on Friday and I'm gonna just cut these hedges and blow down this blow the leaves down this driveway and I'm gonna just go on home. Nah, man, you know the difference between right and wrong. So it like everybody does. And so that's why that particular scene stuck out to me. And that's why I say all of them is an accomplice as far as I'm concerned. Anybody that knew anything remotely weird, remotely off, kind of sort of not normal, then your ass is part of the problem.
In that case, hold on. In that case, we are all culpable because we all knew this shit when Aaliyah was happening. We all culpable of that.
I didn't know
that.
I didn't know that.
We all knew. You didn't know Aaliyah was what, 14 when they started?
No, I didn't know that until after the fact.
I was 11 years old.
Yeah, I'm 41. So
okay, then our parents and grandparents are culpable.
Hold on.
It's not like it's new. It's not like
now, Robert, you got to remember that there was no internet then, though. There was, you know what I'm saying? So you got to, the iPhone was invented in 2007. So you got the no niggas didn't even have emails back then, Robert. So with so the whole all we knew what was in Vibe magazine and what was on LA, in the time. So a lot of the world didn't know about the Aaliyah thing until it came out and it was reported in a. So a lot of people didn't know.
Yeah, thank you, Shad, because I'm glad you covered that up. I didn't know about that shit until after.
I didn't know about it either. I didn't know about it either. Just
all jokes aside, Aaliyah wasn't presented to us as like a kid act. Aaliyah came out like I was young, but I thought Aaliyah was a grown woman. I didn't know she was however old she was.
But didn't she have consent from her parents and everybody else?
She was in a state.
No,
I think she started when they was 14. But when they got married,
R. Kelly, one of the lady was deposed in this case that convicted him. The lady that R. Kelly paid $500 to get Aaliyah's fake ID so he could marry her. She got at the age of 14 a fake ID to say she was 18 so he can go to the justice of the peace and get there. The person that made the fake ID testified against R. Kelly in this past case. So it was all just to set up what kind of person he was. Even though there's nothing they can convict, and it wasn't part of this particular case, it was setting up his character, what kind of person he was. So they went all the feds is a motherfucker, man. They went all the way back, found the motherfucker that made the fake ID for Aaliyah that R. Kelly paid, and put them on the witness stand. So.
See, when it come to that though, Aaliyah, he was not the only one that Aaliyah interacted with and engaged with. It was some other superstars that, was engaging with Aaliyah around that time as well. So who knows that those could be the dudes that he about to drop the hat on. So who knows?
Yeah, man. Hey, is there anybody out there in the chat that would like to come up and ask us a question? Us brothers up here, we have a lot of experience in being black men. Some of us are a little bit longer in the tooth than the others. And we all live in different areas of America, but we all have experiences. We have travels. We know a lot of stuff. And if you guys have any questions, please come up now. All you got to do is on your browser, on the internet, just go to join.aabma.live. That's all you got to do. And then if you want to ask us a question, maybe you have something on your mind. And people ask us a lot of questions. Oftentimes we get relationship questions, but we also answer different topics like religion and politics, things like we're talking about right now, R. Kelly snitching, the things that we talked about before, raising children, and should we make them struggle to learn responsibility. Maybe you have a question that's kind of been on your mind that you'd like to get the perspective of some brothers. If you have that, come on up. We're gonna keep the chat open for the next 5 minutes, and we'll be happy to ask you. We got one that just flew up in here real quick. Hold on, let me pull him up. What up, this guy? Hold on, let me get you up, big dog. Hi.
What's up, bro?
We hear you loud and clear, man. You got a question for your bros?
Yeah. It's not on the topic that y'all have been talking about, but it's an issue that I've been having. And I got some older gents that I talked to about it, but I just want to get you guys' opinion. My issue is recently they were talking about the fear of success, and I feel like I've learned to protect myself in such a way from certain situations to now, even though I'm getting older and I'm maturing, and I've adjusted a lot of those habits as far as how I react and respond out of anger for people and their disrespect. And a lot of people like to bait you, or you even have some of the younger generation of your own that will, just not have been raised right and they can't tell the difference between a wolf and a dog. And, my issue is that the further I get away from that lifestyle, the more trapped I feel like I am in those situations where people are blatantly disrespecting me. And I'm not 100% sure if the sacrifice is too great to maintain what I established, while at the same time sacrificing what I feel is internally what makes me a man. In order
Okay,
to keep
Ken,
those
what's your
things
what's your what's your question, boss?
track.
I don't. So
You
do
don't
it
you
this
don't
way for me
understand
so
what
I
I'm
can kind
saying?
of get it.
How would you
Just
how
do
would
it
you
this way.
suggest?
Say my
What?
question is, and then pose your question.
How would you suggest developing better ways to deal with your responses and anger, or do you agree, at least with my position, that your success traps you to some extent when you have to sacrifice so much of your manhood in order to keep it by doing things like calling the police when you feel like you're capable of this or that, and you want to stand your ground in certain situations, but you understand that you've done so much to establish, a better lifestyle for your kids to come, and you have all of these people depending on you. And you can't just go off because this dude disrespected you in front of your family.
I got it. I understand. So listen, I talked about this 2 nights ago on another podcast over at the Lapeef Network for King Talk.
Shan, do
And
me a favor before you do that. Can you rephrase your question for me because I don't think I understand it still.
how do you handle? Oh, we lost him. So he's basically saying, my question is, how do you handle the fear of success when you have a history of and a whole basically family, friends, and organization of people who may hold you back from that success, especially when that's what actually created you and made you a man. So, are you still there? Because you're breaking up. This guy, you there? Uh-oh, we're losing you. He's frozen.
Y'all want to just go ahead and attack it? I mean,
yeah. Okay. So here's the thing. So the fear of success. So what I discussed the other day was a lot of people get stuck in their heyday, and a lot of black men that I know have an issue with sabotaging their own success. Basically, whenever they get to a certain level of prosperity, whenever things start going right, whenever things are going good for them in life, they find a way to kind of fucking ruin it because they are afraid of the responsibility that comes with that. They're afraid of everything. It's basically more money, more problems, right? Let's think of Biggie Smalls song, more money, more problems. And so what this brother was kind of like asking is like, man, well, how do you handle that success? Maybe it is elevating your children. Maybe it's elevating yourself, and then still deal with maybe the rhetoric and the bullshit that you may hear from your tribe who's not doing what you're doing. I think my answer to that would be, if you are trying to distance yourself, like you mentioned, this guy, because you mentioned, well, when you distancing yourself from these people, are you doing that are you distancing yourself and getting away from somebody, but not replacing them with people of prosperity? Because if that's the case, that's going to drive you nuts. I've always contended to tell people, for every bum that's in your life, find somebody who's winning. For every sucker in your life, for every person that ain't doing shit in your life, for everybody that never has $1 in their pocket, for everybody that always can't keep a job, for everybody that can't keep a cell phone number, for everybody that can't elevate their vocabulary, can't do well in life, is always struggling year after year, 5 years, 10 years. I know people that's been struggling for 20 years. It's like, damn dog, do you ever have any money? 20 years you've been asking for $1 every time I see you. For every person that's like that, replace them with somebody that's better. Because at that point, you won't see them disappear. Next thing you know, you'll have a whole new tribe of people that's winning. Now, how you get the winning part, that's a whole different conversation, and I have an answer for that too. But if you try to distance yourself from people who can be potentially holding you back, that's not as successful as you are becoming, and you don't have anybody, and you're going into a void of this nothingness all by yourself, that may drive you crazy. And next thing you know, you start blaming yourself for winning because they're not winning with you. You start blaming yourself for making money because they're not making money with you. You start blaming yourself for getting promoted at the job, or blaming yourself for buying a nice car, or blaming yourself for getting new furniture in your house, or increasing your living situation because they aren't. But you don't have that problem if you are increasing your living situation, but the people you hang with is doing the same thing that you're doing. If you make sure, if like I tell people all the time, if you're the smartest person in your crew, then you need a new crew. I don't say if you're the smartest person in your crew, then leave your last crew and do it all on your own. Replace the crew. Keep people in your circle, but replace them motherfuckers one by one. Bum for winner. Bum for a winner. Bum for a winner. Next thing you know, you'll have a circle of winners and you won't feel guilty about a goddamn thing. That's how I feel.
Yeah.
Anybody else want to land?
Yeah, no, to your point about like calling the police and everything, I get what you're saying. You know what I mean? Some of it just comes with elevating. You know what I mean? The higher you go up the ladder, the heavier the pulls are going to be to bring you down off of it. And you got some people, they'll put a bullet in their own head just to get a blood stain on you. So you have to allow them to exhaust themselves, because they're looking for a response from you. They're looking for that same exchange of energy, and over time it'll cease. It'll stop, because it becomes exhausting for them once they realize, like, yeah, that's not working. You know what I mean? So, but to the point about calling the police, I'm assuming, you know, it's based on how you don't want to respond a certain way, so you think this is a better alternative. That goes to Shan's point. Like, I remember when I was younger, it was like I got to a point where it's just like, I'm not going nowhere where I feel like I got to bring my gun. If I got to bring my gun, I'm not going. It's that simple. You know what I mean? I'm only putting myself in spaces and environments where I don't feel like I need to have a firearm with me. You know what I mean? So it's just about elevation. You know what I mean? And growing is not, you know, it's not easy. You know what I mean? Growing, you lose people, you build new relationships, different relationships, some uncomfortable, awkward relationships, but that's all a part of it. So you can't fear that, because if you try to stay within that comfort zone and you think that you're gonna get that same feeling in that same environment, but you making $250,000 a year now, it's not gonna happen. You gotta get comfortable with the uncomfort.
Yeah, that's I agree with both what Shahid and what Shan said. That's spot on. The replacing the friends thing, that's one of the things I'll also say is something I heard a long time ago. You are the sum of your friends. So you can elevate. You might be at the top tier of who you associate with. And at that point, you need to start adding people above you, because the average is going to pull you down somewhere towards the middle. You want to, as Shan was saying, replace one by one. As you go up higher, you tend to frequent with people who are doing better in life. You tend to run into those people more often. And that's when you start creating that new circle, that new nucleus. They might not be your day ones, but they're going to keep you out the shit. So, and then like Shahid was saying, and really a lot of us don't consider it. We can't take the hood with us. Well, a lot of us want to help our family members or help our friends come up along with us. They don't have the mentality more often than not to take that ride. They don't have that, you know what, I'm gonna do whatever it takes to make sure that my income's straight, or that my business is right, or that my job is good. They rather sit back and do whatever they want to do in the hood. But as far as everything else, I'm a big believer in meditation. And you don't have to meditate, but whenever that feeling comes, because I've struggled with that, to where it's like I want to respond with a different type of aggression. I want to respond with different vocabulary. I want to go at the problem. Matter of fact, I remember probably about 5 or 6 years ago, I was with somebody. Came to come support me at one of my events, and there was some drama after the events. Guns were drawn, and I'm sprinting to the problem. And she had to remind me, like, Rob, what are you doing? You've got kids, you got a family, you got this going on. Why are you running towards something that's happening where guns are involved. Why are you running towards that? And that stopped me in my tracks, and that's the moment where it made me think, you know what, I can't run to everything. I can't run I have to fight that instinct, and I have to be okay with it. So I have to sit back and say, you know what, I am trying to elevate to a new place. Everybody that I know can't come with me, but I'm doing this for the generations to come. I'm doing this for my friends who are willing to come. I'm doing this for my kids who are there. I'm doing it for my cousins, my family, anybody else that I can be around for and be a help to. A lot of times we have to do that. We have to take our time and say, you know what, if I have to do something that feels unnatural to me, but is technically the right thing to do, I have to do it. I have to stand on my manhood. I have to be that type of man. I'm gonna go ahead and digress.
You know, Tupac. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm real quick. The thing I wanted to add is that one way that you can not fear success is by adding a mentor. Two things that you definitely need in your life is someone that is at a higher level than you, that is pulling you up, and then someone that is lower than you, a son, a teenager, a young man that you are able to pull up as well. And here's the reason why that dynamic is important. A mentor will teach you how to respond in all situations. But when you have someone who looks up to you and who's paying attention to your every move and your decision making, like a mentee, you now become responsible for how they learn by what you do. When a person learns by what you do and not what you say, it literally shifts how you start to respond. So rather than like Rob running toward the fire, you actually have to take a moment and think about how this will affect not only you, but every person that is in your sphere. And when that dynamic happens, a mentor will will teach you much more than you can ever learn in your own current space. And when you are pulled from that space, you're pulled into successes, you're pulled into life that is better than where you currently are. You don't fear success. You don't worry about calling the cops. Because I'll tell you, let's say there was a situation, I tell my kids all the time, if someone breaks into the house because y'all left the door open or someone breaks into the house, I'm not afraid to use my weapon. I'm not. I carry. But there are times where things escalate because I've practiced learning how to respond and not react. First is because I have children. Second, because I have a mentor. Third, because I don't need to react anymore to everything that causes me to be emotional. So what I've learned to do is I've learned to respond. And even if, the situation is becoming escalated, I still decide, listen to my words carefully, I still decide to calm myself because typically the person who loses is the person who is not calm and is acting out of emotion. You have to think of it like a karate film, right? A person who's going wild and attacking, when the karate person or the kung fu master is just at his body is at rest and he's very peaceful, he can see every move you're making and then he's able to counter those moves because he's watched you. That's how you need to practice your life when situations come that cause you to react. And what you need to do is you need to take a step back and then you need to learn to respond. And that's how you decide to move forward. Go ahead, Shan.
No. I don't even think my shit was gonna be as good as yours. Go ahead. I was talking about because Snoop Dogg talked about this in an interview. He had an interview, a living room interview, like 10 years ago, talking about leaving motherfuckers behind because Snoop had all of Long Beach. He had a whole bunch of motherfuckers that was trying to roll with him, and Snoop had to wake up one day and said, "I got to leave all these niggas. I got to leave them all behind because if I try to take them all with me." And if I care about what they say and what they think, I'm not going to progress. And Snoop replaced all his friends with different people. That's just what happened. And I was going to mention, he started hanging with Martha Stewart. And
Then
next thing you know,
he's on
next thing you
Discovery
know, he's
Channel.
on in Discovery Channel. He got a fucking star on the Walk of Fame. You know, but if he wanted to take the hood with him and all the people that was trying to keep him down and be like, yo, come on, cuz, this is we day ones, and how you gonna just go out? And Snoop had to one day just wake up and say, fuck all of that shit. I was mentioning it back a long time ago on the set of Gridlocked. Wes, you remember that movie Gridlocked with Tupac?
Yeah.
So I was on the set with Tupac, and we couldn't really talk to him at the time, you know, because we wasn't, you know, it was Tupac. But this one PA, in a break between scenes, Tupac was chilling. He was reading the script, and this PA came up to him. He was a street nigga from LA, right? Came up to Tupac and was like, "Yo, Pac, come on, man. Let's go blow one real quick. Let's go blow some trees." The dude wanted to go smoke with Tupac because that would have been cool, right? There was no selfies. There was no internet. There was no internet. There was no email. There was no social media. It was just that he wanted to be able to maybe there weren't even no digital cameras at that time, right? But he wanted to smoke some weed with Tupac, and Tupac looked at him, and I'll never forget, man. Tupac said, "Are you crazy?" He said, "Nigga, I gotta learn these lines. I'm at work right now. All that hood," and this is Tupac saying this, and a lot of people don't know this story. Tupac said, all that hood shit and the shit you be saying, that's cool, but when I'm at work, I'm focusing on my work. So now I can't go smoke no weed with you. And he made dude feel real stupid because Tupac was about his bag. He was about the business, and he knew that he needed to be a professional and remember his lines. He didn't want to go smoke no weed, and he could have done that. It ain't like he was gonna get fired. He could have did what the fuck he wanted to do. But he told dude, like, nah, man, I ain't got time for that. The thing is, Tupac didn't give a fuck about what the street thought of him when he made what I gathered from that. Tupac didn't give a fuck about what nobody thought. Tupac saw the bigger picture. Tupac said, I know what I need to do to be successful, and success is more important than making you feel good about smoking weed with me and hanging out with me like that. And so to the caller, you got to think like Tupac thought. Fuck these niggas. Basically, I'm over here and this is what I'm focused on, and I'm laser focused on this success. And don't fear the success. Don't fear growing and doing better because other people out there is trying to pull you back down, man. Don't worry about that. Just replace them like Snoop Dogg did with better people.
Exactly. Just to co-sign with that, because Shannon said exactly what I was going to say was, you shouldn't be thinking about them, especially if you're moving on to bigger things. Because I guarantee you they're not thinking about you the way you're thinking about them. And then also, I know he mentioned self-sabotage. So that can also be a mental block because you're simply not used to the success. So when you say self-sabotage, that made me think of, okay, there's a mental block there. Because I experienced that when I first started off and things like that, and I start moving up, and then, I start going through those mental blocks and things like that. And it took somebody else to tell me that for me to see it, because I was wallowing in it, not even realizing it. And what that looks like is procrastination. I know I got things to do, items to check off to get done, and I was procrastinating, like, okay, I'm gonna do it in an hour, and then the hour becomes 3 hours, then 3 hours become 5 hours, and then it's like it's the end of the day. Okay, I'm definitely gonna do it tomorrow, and then it just keeps on repeating. I'll clean up, I'll go wash the car, I'll do everything except what I'm supposed to do, and it's like, wow, I really do have a mental block. But really, just getting over that was getting a mentor and literally just getting disciplined is just making a list and checking off those items. Like, okay, Colin, focus. Take a break at this time, but knock out these 3-4 items before you take a break, before you take a lunch. And that worked for me, having a mentor to check up on me and stay up on my ass. That worked for me also. So you might be struggling with a mental block. So just definitely try those tips and make sure that you're not holding yourself back, because you mentioned self-sabotage, and that's exactly what you're going to do if you don't address it.
Real quick, just to third that one, the mentorship is big, and it doesn't have to be. I would recommend having several mentors, having one that's in the field of whatever it is you're doing, and then having one that's like a mentor for life, having one that's a mentor for motivation. And it doesn't all have to be somebody that you physically know. I would recommend one of them being somebody you physically know, but you can consult the internet for several different motivational folks. Several different people can feed into you just by listening to their podcast or just by listening to their old sermons. That's how I got started. I think the first person I listened to was Les Brown. I did it. I forgot it. There was a whole other point. There was a better point. There was a really good point, but I forgot what it was.
Hey, for Christmas, we are getting Robert a notepad, iPad, notepad, some kind of pad, heating pad.
Oh man! Shout out to the caller though, because the caller, he's listening to us, guys. He had some internet issues, but he shot us a $5 super chat, and he says, "Wise words, brothers. Your thoughts are really appreciated." So we appreciate you, Victor Freeze Music, for coming up, and we appreciate the $5 super chat, man. We love answering questions, and we hope that some of the things that we said will be you'll be able to use so you can get through the issues that you're currently having, brother. We know you're gonna win.
And that's what it was. I got my thought back. I was going to tell him, don't be afraid to make the moves you need to move in order to reach the maximum success that you want to reach. Because at the end of the day, you will be able to help somebody along the way. The people that you are attached to and that you feel like maybe dragging you down, those are the people you say, you know what, I'm going to push them to the side. But if there's one that's with you and that's riding with you and that will help you get on your journey and try to learn with you, then that's maybe the one that you show the most concern about. I have 4 people in my circle at this point, like in my real tight day one circle. I don't have everybody else. Those 4 people, we all help each other in some way, shape, or form. We are brothers, and one sister. So definitely, like if your circle is beyond, if people in your circle is doing damage, shrink your circle. Shrink that circle.
Exactly. When you naturally ascend, you'll naturally separate from the people that's not on that same path with you. So don't feel bad, don't feel guilty, because I experienced that a lot myself. And I heard a lot of, oh, you think you're too good? And my response was always, no, I don't think I'm good enough, which is why I'm working so dang hard. So it's just like, declining the request to go outside. Go to the club, go hang out. It got old after a while. Playing video games, it's like I just stopped putting that away, and I got laser focused on what I did. So I really didn't focus on what they're gonna think about me, all that kind of stuff. It's just a natural progression that you're taking, and it's just different journeys. So if you start separating, like every gentleman that said on this stage, you'll find your tribe. You'll get around those go-getters, those hustlers, those ambitious people that will level you up or show you the ropes or give you resources and things like that to have you on the Discovery Channel, or have you with the Mark the Stewards. On the Discovery Channel saying, are those the mongooses? What did you say, mongooses? That always makes me just roll out laughing. What are those, mongooses? Mongooses?
Yeah, and I just want to say, Victor, as well, thank you so much for coming to Ask a Black Man Anything. One of the things that we really appreciate is when you come from the comments or you come from our live show, whether you're on streaming on YouTube, you're streaming on Clubhouse, we appreciate the fact that you come here. It literally is Ask a Black Man Anything, and you literally can ask us anything. And that was a marvelous question. I think that we have we got our coffee mug and our t-shirts. With that being said, Wes, go ahead and take us out with your intro. Talk to another brother. Fellas, we out. Wes is frozen.
He the OG. Wes is that frozen or is he asleep?
I don't know how you gonna be frozen with like a cool pose and stuff. Like he just froze.
Yeah. So you know what Wes actually did?
We need to screenshot that.
He froze himself so he could pretend like he was still in the show. But Jerron, you came back. Go ahead and take us out with your outro, bro.
All right. So what's good, brothers? As always, like I said before, it's always good to be amongst you all. I know I missed some of the conversation, but as always, I know it was great conversation, great dialogue, great discussion. I'm Jerron, licensed clinical resident social worker or therapist from Mississippi. It's been great. As I always say, do something nice for yourself this weekend. It's Friday tomorrow. Self-love is the best love. Some of you all should have a 3-day weekend coming up if you're off on Monday. So do something nice for yourself this weekend. Take yourself out, do something nice. And with that being said, I'm gonna go and pass it to my brother Steve.
Hell yeah, it's always a pleasure, my good brothers. It was good to be back. In October, we wear pink. We got to support Breast Cancer Awareness Month. I don't know if y'all can see it, but boom, I know my grandma was affected by it. She transitioned because of it. So make sure you loving your loved ones. Make sure they're letting you love them back. And yeah, man, gonna pass it with my good brother Chris.
You do it to
Chris
you,
gotta
Chris.
go last. Chris gotta go last because he has to do his sexy closeout voice.
That show you how long. That show you how long it's been since Steve been here.
It's on you, Colin. You and your top hat.
All right. So yeah, great episode again tonight, fellas. So glad to be here. Colin Hardiman, Scrooston, Texas. Yeah, always glad to be on the stage with the fellas and sharing experiences and hearing different perspectives. So thank y'all for tuning in. Please subscribe, tell your friends. And yeah, we're gonna keep rolling. I pass it to you, pass it to you, Shahid.
Oh man, another great episode. It's always good when we get to kind of have some different conversations, but look forward to next week. Always a pleasure, sharing our thoughts, gentlemen. So you, Rob.
Robert Longmire out of Bakersfield, California. I really thoroughly enjoyed this conversation. I like, the conversation we opened up with, Shan, man. Thank you for that. That's a fantastic topic. I really enjoyed that myself. Hopefully some goodness came from it. Robert Longmire, Bakersfield, California. I can't wait till next week. I appreciate you fellas sharing the stage. I'm gonna go ahead and pass it to Jamal if he is there. If not, then we're going to
Jerron.
All right, then we got Shan. Jerron went first, right?
Oh, Jerron went?
Yeah, Jerron went.
Oh, Wes.
Oh, okay.
Wes is back. Wes is off his
Wes is a casualty of war,
Mr. Wes.
We're gonna just treat Wes like collateral damage. Hey y'all, it's Shan, your boy, West Coast, Los Angeles. Appreciate being here. I'll see you guys next week. Same bat channel, same bat time. It's on you, Chris.
Chris Davis with the deep voice, and
we're gonna wait for Wes's audio to kick in.
It's taking a while.
New camera to work. There we go. Wes, do your outro. Thank you, sir.
Man, I'm having so many tough technical difficulties over here. My app keeps glitching. Anyway, I'm Wes. Artistic IQ on social media. Yeah. That's Los Angeles, California.
That's all he can say. He hasn't been here.
Yeah. So next week, Wes, what we want you to do is we want you to work that part out before you get here so that you don't bring your technical difficulties to us. Shahid has already texted me and told me that he doesn't want you to do those things. Okay, he wants you to difficulties by yourself, and then bring the nonsense, and then and then don't freeze yourself in a cool pose just to pretend like you're here because we're gonna call you.
He's trying to come with he went and grabbed a lens for his Fuji camera, and now his shit don't even work. I mean, go back to that iPhone.
Wes, we don't. Wes, I'm sure you don't know this, Wes, but you froze like this, so he's like this.
I was like, man, how did he get to freeze in a cool pose? Like, what am I missing in my life? Anyways, Chris Davis from Atlanta, Georgia. In Atlanta, Georgia, by way of Buffalo, New York. Author of The Edge of Greatness, which is my first book. I'm actually pushing to get ready to send out a new book. It's actually going to be a workbook. I'm excited about this. I met with somebody yesterday, in fact, October 6th, 2021. And I'm just saying it because I'm looking at the date. And they told me that I need to put this book out before Black Friday. And the book, I'm going to give you the title because I've just been working on this deal here. The book is called The Ultimate Vetting Guide, a workbook to help you properly vet your potential mates. This book is going to be so crazy. You're going to need this book because we're in a dating phase, and everyone who's in the dating phase needs to know how to properly vet and the subject matters that you want to talk about, but while you're in the conversation. So you're not excited about the person, but you're making a decision about your excitement and actually is coming from a solid place. So you're not just going off of euphemism or euphoria alone. And now euphemism is not the word I'm looking for. You're not going off of euphoria alone. So make sure you follow me on my Instagram. It's the real underscore Chris Davis. And if you don't know what underscore is, I think it's Shift F7. Um, or Shift 7 or something like that. I don't know. But anyways, thank you all so much
Shift
for coming
dash.
tonight. Say what?
It's shift dash.
Yeah, one of those keys.
Next to
But thank you all.
next to the zero. Sorry.
Next to the zero. There we go. I want to thank you all for coming tonight and joining us on Ask a Black Man Anything. We have an amazing crew. We actually also want you to share this with your friends because here's what we want you to do too. We want you to join us in March 17th through the 21st. We're going to do Ask a Black Man Anything live. It's kind of be like a clubhouse meet and greet. It'll be the first live event from Ask a Black Man Anything. And then we're going to talk to you about some other great things that we have coming on. So make sure you set your calendars for March 17th to the 24th, 21st. We're going to be in Houston, Texas. Or as Colin just said, we're going to be in Screwston. So get your hotel, get your money up. Matter of fact, you might not even have to get your money up because that's right after your tax time. So you get your taxes back, your hotel, buy your flight, and come out and see us. Make sure you buy your ticket. We want you to be there for those people that get a tax return. My CPA does a great job to make sure all of my taxes are paid and I get great deduction. That's another little tip. Anyways,
CPAs are my best friend.
Man, listen.
CPA should be every business owner's best friend.
Listen, tax evasion is illegal, but tax avoidance is not. That is the tip of the day. I want to say thank you all for joining Ask a Black Man Anything. With that being said, super producer, send us out.
Hey, Wes.
Let's be real, Chris. We are in a dating pandemic.
We in something.
Man, shout out to Victor. He shot us another super chat. He sent us another $5. He said, we at church where two or more gathered in my name. He's listening on a delay. But shout out to Victor a second time. He gave us another super chat. Big ups to you, bro.
Big ups, Vic.
Shan, are they doing the super chats from your page?
Yeah, because I'm the only one. My page, because I'm simulcasting this to my broadcast and I'm monetized over there. So they're sending the money through me.
Okay, so I told the girl the wrong thing. I told her to send the cash app to Ask a Black Man Anything.
No, that's cool too. That's what I would prefer. So I ain't got to send the money over myself.
Y'all want to know how I know we're leaving early tonight? Because Chris still has his regular voice going. That cutoff is at 11 o'clock Central. It's just like, all right, y'all, this is Chris. We got Ask a Black Man, and it was like 11 o'clock. All right, ladies and gentlemen.
Good night, Gail. Appreciate you, Gail. Terminus is catching up. Terminus is in there. He typing. He's like, fuck R. Kelly. Terminus is like, snitch. He ain't talking. We talked about that shit an hour ago, but he talking about it right now. Love it.
Any of y'all still holding on to Shiba?
Huh?
Shibu? Any of y'all still holding on to Shibu? Shibu Inu?
Oh, Shibu. I sold 10 million of them the other day, man. I made some money, but I should have held on to it. I would have tripled my money. I would have made about $5,000. I only made like $2,000. I fucked up.
I had two accounts with it, and I sold one account a while ago, but I wish I would have held on to it because I would have had double what I got right now, man.
That's the name of the game, though. That's the way it go. I remember Shubu. I mean, just 4 months ago, the motherfucker was at 4,000. You know, so right now it's teetering around 3,500. It's gonna drop back down to fucking 500. I'll get it. I'll buy back in then.
Yeah, I'm gonna buy back in there.
Yeah, man. Shibu got me, man. I got in April or May. Whenever it was at the height, I got in. I was literally on a phone call, and I was like, I'm gonna throw 2,000 in, and I'm gonna just see what kind of money I can make in the next 15 minutes. Made $200. But then when I looked at the fees to get out of Shibu, this was before it was everywhere. It was costing me
more to get out.
Yeah, well, it was costing me. No, I know what I made $280. It was costing me $200 to get out, and all I was gonna make was $80. And I was like, I didn't get in this to make $80. Left my money in there overnight. That shit was gone. Well, half of it was gone, and then I let the other half sit in, and then half of that was gone. Then I pulled it out. At the height that it went now, I still wouldn't have made my money back. I think I made about half, maybe a little bit more back on it.
So you bought it when it was around 4,000. Yeah.
Yeah, he bought it. He bought it at the height.
Yeah,
I bought it when it was cheap. I bought it cheap, and I threw a bunch of bread in it.
Good night, everyone.
But what? Colin, Wes, and I think Robert. Make sure you guys send me, and Jerron, if you can still hear me, make sure you guys send the actual video to the Ask a Black Man IG, right? Send your drop, the video, to the IG. That way I can save it. If you share it to your Instagram reel, I'm not able to download it. I don't know what the heck is going on with my phone. I just want to throw that in there. And two, I want to throw this out. When we first started, we did 8 episodes and we took off a week. How do you all feel about doing that? Like do 8 episodes, take a week? Because I mean, that might be like around Thanksgiving, Christmas, or something like that. How do y'all feel about that? Do 8 episodes, take a week off? Just kind of, how do y'all feel about
Non-stop.
that? I know,
non-stop.
Yeah.
All right, y'all. Bye, everybody. Everybody listen to us talking business and shit. All right, bye, everybody. We'll see y'all next week.
Hold on.